to Travolting, covering Battlefield Earth, with very special guest, Rebecca Johnson. Enjoy the episode. In the year 3000, the Earth has been taken over by the Cyclones. One man will rise up and fight them. This is the saga of Johnny Goodboy Tyler. Yeah, it's the actual pitch of Battlefield Earth.
No, I think the pitch of Battlefield Earth was, who was the initial pitcher in this? Was it the writer? Or
no, this was a John Travolta from inception to
who's
conclusion.
walking in the executive
John
pitch
Travolta.
room? Okay, so John, here's how the pitch went, guys. You ready for this? John Travolta walks into the boardroom of executives for entertainment, right? Mm-hmm. And what do you got for us, Travolta? Be like, guys, here's what I got. He starts to unbuckle his pants. People start to get very uncomfortable. They're like, whoa, John, what are you doing? It's like, no, just give me a second. Totally pulls down his pants, hops up on the conference room table, takes the nastiest shit right in front of them without breaking eye contact, and his John Travolta blinkless smile.
Yeah, no, the no broken eye contact. That's important.
Yeah, and then after it's done, after 30 seconds of shitting has been commenced, he then gets off the table. It's still there, moist and wet, and then he looks at them, pulls his pants up, doesn't wipe, by the way. He hasn't wiped. Buckles his pants back up, says, Battlefield Earth.
Yep, folks, this week we're covering Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth!
Thank you for listening to our Scientology orientation episode last week. It's going to provide the important context
That
going
was
into this.
last
That
week.
was last week.
Oh, Jesus.
Wait, that actually is important context.
Yeah, it's important.
Was that intentional?
That was intentional. That's why we did that one. Then. So we could kind of lay the groundwork for some of what we're talking about here.
I definitely left the room when you were watching the orientation video because I'm like, this is taking it a step too far. And then I did not know the likes of Battlefield Earth would follow it immediately after.
Yeah.
All right, so we're joined by a very special guest from our Pulp Fiction episode, Rebecca Johnson, today.
Hi, Becca.
I just want to start off the bat by saying I'm not going to be gaslit in this episode. This was she volunteered for this. I will not be said that I put her through this. This was a volunteer operation.
Look, man, I'm trying to reach a level of zen so I can get through this.
I'm crushing your vibe.
No, you're not crushing my vibe. This movie crushed my vibe.
This movie crushes everybody's vibe.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is gonna be this is a trying episode. This is gonna try the concept of this podcast. It's gonna try our friendship, our relationship.
Yeah.
Generally, just the fabric of space time is gonna be tried.
the thing is, it's I just want to open the floodgates of comments and words that I have, and it's taking a lot for me not
same.
To
to.
not do
So,
it.
let's...
Right. You want to get into the context corner?
Let's get to the context corner. Let's get the... We got... Jeff,
Yeah.
we got a hair ranking to do this episode.
Oh my God, I get to witness this.
I mean...
Oh my God.
Let's go to the context corner. I'm
Okay.
gonna let's savor this up. But yeah, that's something we gotta
let's shimmy on over to the context corner.
Yeah, I'm pushing all of my appointments today. That's for sure.
So Battlefield Earth is based on a 1982 novel by L. Ron Hubbard, also the writer of Dianetics, the founder of Scientology. As they claim, one of the most renowned sci-fi authors of all time, though everything I can find is people being like, he was middling at best.
Yep. And that we talked about this last week,
Yeah.
but at least most of the writers of religions that we know of are long dead.
Yes.
And there's a little bit, and it's one thing if there were a shepherd or a carpenter, and it's is it very impossible that they got enlightened by some outward force and they came up with this new rule set of life? Maybe. This guy is a science fiction writer.
This is like if George Lucas just started saying, yeah, the Force is real, and started actual religion based off of it.
Are you saying L. Ron Hubbard was first a science fiction writer, second the leader of Scientology?
Yes.
No.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I should have watched that orientation video. Wow.
But he created the concept of Dianetics.
Yep.
And kind of wrote science fiction that was to him the Bible, essentially.
What is the science? Because I thought Dianetics was the Scientology
Dianetics, yes.
Bible.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh.
there's a lot. Like, as we talked about last week, that whole video is just people selling you more and more books. Like,
There's
you have to
so
have 50
many
books. Like, it's like, if you go to like your local Baptist church, they're like, here's a pocket Bible.
Yeah.
Welcome to
book.
welcome to the Brotherhood.
It's one book.
Is there a sleeve with like a really poorly drawn alien on it for an ad of L. Ron Hubbard's like side gig as a science fiction writer?
That's the bit about Scientology. Is it's like, I think I said this last week, but it's like it's a pyramid scheme where you get in on the like Dianetics. We're all connected spiritually, which is like a very like palatable concept to a lot of people and like makes sense.
We all have souls.
like we all have souls and we're all connected in this grand cosmic energy.
I can agree with that.
And then like a year in, they're like, all right, we're going to the next stage. Xenu dropped Terran DNA into a volcano, and that's what spawned life on Earth. It's like, whoa! But by that point,
Wait a minute.
you're in too deep to get out.
All gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes.
Okay.
But Battlefield Earth is not inherently written as part of the Scientology text.
Yes.
It's a separate sci-fi book.
J.D. Shapiro, right?
No, L. Ron Hubbard wrote it. J.D. Spears is the writer of the
The screenwriter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the book is not directly Scientology, but it does have the themes that L. Ron Hubbard kind of wrote into Scientology in it. And some of the ideas about like, materialism and and like gods leaving, abandoning humanity and all that fun stuff, interconnectedness.
Yeah, that's not even subtle in this movie. There's
Yes.
giant ass gold bricks.
Where does Turl fit?
You mean Terrell?
Terrell? Is that how you say it?
People were saying different names in this movie.
That's true.
Oh, were they? I didn't even know. I didn't.
But basically, like he wrote this book, L. Ron Hubbard, and he was immediately like, I want this to be a movie, and so he wrote a screenplay version of it. Got immediately no traction. Who does he go to next? Who's a young up and coming Scientologist in the year 1982?
Oh no.
He goes to John Travolta and says, I want this to be a movie in
no.
1982.
In 1982.
Johnny T. Good boy.
And
Ooh.
he talks to him immediately. John Travolta is coming off of the blowout, staying alive run, so he has no clout in Hollywood anymore. He goes to people and he's like, I want to make the sci-fi movie. He says, I think it can be the next Star Wars. Everyone immediately laughs. And they're like, this like washed out.
He says that a lot in publicity, right? That
Yes.
this is like Star Wars.
He says a lot of things that we'll
Yeah.
get to. But he tries to get this made, does not get it made. An attempt is made to shoot this as like a super low budget, like Roger Corman style film in '84. It falls apart very quickly with not much to go off of it.
Like they made it, but it didn't make any traction.
They tried to get it made,
Oh.
and only got to the point of like, even with they're like, we can't do this on this budget, and no one really has any passion for this right now. So, 10 years go by. It's mostly forgotten about by Hollywood. Who does not forget about it is John Travolta. This is the first thing he does after Pulp Fiction. Right after he gets the success of Pulp Fiction, is he says, I want to make Battlefield Earth finally. That is what he cashes his blank check on after he has the Oscar nomination and major success of Pulp Fiction.
Oh, no.
He says, I want to make Battlefield Earth. He goes to 20th Century Fox, I believe, did this movie? Question mark? No, it's Warner Brothers. It's a Warner Brothers picture. 20th Century Fox said no.
Decidedly no.
But he remembered Hubbard's wishes and he wanted to like respect them because he was a great admirer. In 1995, he says, "I'm going to make this movie." He goes around to a lot of studios. Eventually, Warner Brothers signs on, and his manager Jonathan Crane kind of helps him start putting it together. He says this is going to be like Pulp Fiction for the year 3000.
Ew.
He goes to Quentin Tarantino and says, will you direct this movie? God. Quentin Tarantino wisely says, I have no interest in doing that. Why did you ask me? So he goes around to a lot of other directors. They all say no. He's still trying to get this made. They end up picking Roger Christian, who, if you were unaware, was the second unit director of The Phantom Menace.
Oh.
The second unit director.
Because John Travolta asked George Lucas who should direct this grand sci-fi movie I'm going to make. because I'm trying to make the next Star Wars.
That's a weird thing to approach George Lucas.
And George looks like my second year director on this film. Roger Christian, he was pretty good.
I know most of our filmmaker friends listen to this podcast, but for maybe people who aren't filmmakers, like, let's just
George Lucas made Star Wars, and if you didn't know.
Well, no, I'm talking about, like, let's classify what a second unit director really means. Like, because it's not like you're not like the director.
Mm-hmm.
You basically go out and shoot like B-roll stuff, and they're like C-cam inserts or all that kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're basically taking like a spare camera while the main unit, like George Lucas, Liam Neeson, and Ewan McGregor are shooting the real things, and you're like doing like, all right, we need this hand to pick up this like prop. Yeah, and that's just a close up, and that's what second unit directors.
A lot of times they'll do the action sequences.
Yeah, like with stunts and things like that. They don't really work with the real talent.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the stunt portions. It makes things go faster for production.
Yeah.
But John Travolta says about this: Battlefield Earth is the pinnacle of using my power for something. I told my manager, if we can't do the things that we want to do, what good is this power? Let's test it and try and get things done that we believe in. The band deeply believes in this project.
I'm speechless.
God.
The funding he finally gets is from Franchise Pictures, who kind of assimilates it into Warner Brothers for release. Franchise's whole bit was like they would take star vehicles that actors wanted to do, but the cost was too high, and get them to come in and have all the actors do it for a cheap rate, but gets the movie made.
Huh.
So John Travolta, who was demanding very large salaries at this time, due to his like really strong string of hits after Pulp Fiction, takes a huge pay cut for this movie. He still gets somewhere around like $10 million for this, which is a lot of money.
But what was the budget of this film? Which I know there's some controversy.
There's some controversy. The official budget for this movie is $73 million.
Oh.
It is apocryphal knowledge said by Barry Pepper, who's in this movie, and the director, that the more realistic had about $25 million to make the movie, because the rest went to John Travolta and the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Oh.
I believe over half of the money for this movie went into the cast.
Which
he took a pay cut of $10 million.
Yes, and
still took up lots of the budget.
Yes.
Which, by the way, this is my first little zinger with this whole story. It's like he believes in this project so much, but he's going to cripple it with his like demanding salary. Like, how about you just stick on as an EP, John, and like maybe get somebody else to play Turl or whatever, like, and use the budget for bigger or better things, like, you know, a level tripod. Like, I don't know.
Here's some of the bit is $20 million of the budget was allocated for marketing and distribution, which usually is like an overhead on top of the budget, but I believe it was pulled out of the budget for this one. Travolta put $5 million of his own dollars into the production, so he put half of his salary back into the movie.
I was gonna say then maybe.
Okay.
He did take
Okay.
Sorry.
So he leads in and he runs into that. The Church of Scientology has involvement in this production.
Of course they do.
Because they own L. Ron Hubbard's estate.
Oh.
So they're pocketing some of the rights money from this.
I'll be glad this movie bombed then.
Travolta and the rest of Hollywood says that, or the rest of the people involved say that this movie has no Scientology involvement, which absolutely is not the case. They were very involved. It does have one prominent Scientologist not involved in this movie, though.
Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise was offered involvement in this movie, and he told Warner Brothers, this is a bad idea. This movie should not be made. Which, if Tom Cruise is saying something a little too crazy for him, I don't know what else you could have expected to come out of this.
Tom Cruise isn't by no means like not knowledgeable in a good or bad script.
Tom Cruise is very smart. It's his reputation that he's very smart in how he uses his star power and picks his projects.
He also jumps out of airplanes in the stratosphere.
Yes.
So, you know.
You can be smart but also insane at the same time.
But he's like their Jesus in some way, Tom Cruise. And when Jesus comes up to you and tells you not to make Passion of the Christ, maybe don't make Passion of the Christ, you know? So I think that's kind of the metaphor with this.
Yes. So this movie goes through 10 different screenwriters.
Oh.
Oh wow.
One of them being J.D. Shapiro, who deeply regrets being involved in this movie. I believe he tried to get his name removed from credit of this movie, but he would lose out on any money if he did through WGA rules. So he accepted the credit in exchange for the money, even though he wanted no involvement in this.
Oh man.
Sometimes
you just gotta take the hit.
He did go on to accept the Golden Raspberry Award for this movie for worst film of the decade in the year 2009.
Ooh.
Wow.
He personally accepted it. Good on him, I say.
Yeah, honestly.
But from what we're getting from the context is John Travolta is very invested in this movie. He's the one who uses his clout after Pulp Fiction to get it made. He's the one who's pitching this movie. He's the one who's hiring the director. He's hiring the screenwriters. He's very involved in the writing. Originally, he wants to play the lead role of Johnny Goodboy Taylor, which is a name. He realizes he is now too old to play that role, so he's going to play the villain Terrell, however you say it.
Yeah.
And
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, and they go into production.
Aren't we so lucky?
They go into production. This thing was shot over, I believe, 70 days, I read.
Okay. That's
catering was notoriously bad on the production of this, to the extent that John Travolta flew his own personal chef in to cater for the cast and crew because he couldn't do it.
Oh my gosh.
Roger Christian, first time directing like a feature of this scale,
Oh no.
aside from Second Unit on The Phantom Menace, says he wants it to look like a comic book, and so he makes the decision. Every angle, every shot in this movie is going to be a Dutch angle.
I really have nothing to say. For me, the Dutch angles work only in like mediums to close-ups, mostly because it's a little skewed. But when it's a wide, no, it's beyond upsetting.
And to have it happen all the time.
Literally every shot.
Every shot. Like you watch the first scene and it starts off with like landscape, so it's almost a little difficult to tell how
it's sweeping,
like, you know, canted it is. But then when they get to like the village in the first scene and then like everything is Dutch and you're like, no, stop.
it literally is dizzying.
And then it just keeps going. And then eventually, like, I don't know about you, but like my head would just like sag throughout the entire movie as I'm like, what is happening?
I remember a shot specifically of the woman that Johnny's character's in love with riding a horse, and the horse looks like it's walking uphill because it's so Dutch, but it's walking towards you.
Yeah.
I want to just read a quote from the screenwriter of this film, J.D. Shapiro. The reason he got involved in this movie is because he had read that the Scientology Celebrity Center in LA was a great place to pick up women.
Oh.
And when he went there to get a date, wound up writing Battlefield Earth.
Oh, J.D. Shapiro. You should have kept it in your pants, brother.
Guys was like, I wasn't expecting that one.
Did he meet anybody, though?
He met John Travolta and wrote this movie.
Oh,
Man.
I meant in a romantic sense, but, well, that's fine.
Seemingly not.
This is when the TVA would have been very helpful in just erasing this timeline.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we live in a timeline where Battlefield Earth exists, guys.
It's unfortunate.
We're in the lesser of timelines.
I think I mentioned at some point in this movie, I'm like, where does Nicolas Cage come in? Because this would be the movie that Nicolas Cage would be. And so I think I mentioned, I'm like, I want to jump back on the timeline where at least Nicolas Cage is in this movie. However we get there, I want to be on that timeline.
And then he's got to know how crazy it is, so he adds his own Nick Cage crazy to it.
And I think the movie would have been better for it.
Yeah.
So this is basically the end of the context corner. But during production, Travolta remains very adamant this is going to be a major success.
How?
To the extent that he sets up not only a sequel,
Oh.
based on the second half of the book, because this is only based on the first half of the book. He sets up an animated series. He sets up a toy line. He sets up this becoming a Star Wars style franchise. Because he says this is going to be Star Wars, but better. and Pulp Fiction for the year 3000. And speaking of the year 3000, this movie starts.
Oh,
We're
God.
segueing right into
We're
it.
going into it right away, aren't we?
We are.
Okay.
So the very opening scene,
Yes.
landscapes of mountains.
Well, before we get landscapes and mountains, we get the MPAA warning pops up that says rated PG-13 for intense sci-fi action.
Oh my God, we're starting that far back, aren't we?
And whenever I see intense
gonna
sci-fi
be a
action, that's when I'm like
4-hour-long
hooting and
podcast.
hollering. Hooting and hollering.
Okay.
I want to know the definition of intense in this context.
There's no intensity in
Fast
this movie.
cuts in slow-mo and color shifts. That's
Yes.
what intense is.
This movie plays as if someone watched Independence Day and said, "Yeah, let's just do that," but for 1/4 of the budget.
Yeah, basically.
It's like Independence Day meets Planet of the Earths, but somehow did I say Planet of the Earths?
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
This movie is making your IQ drop, Jeff.
Planet of the Earths.
And we need to cleanse ourselves of it quickly. So mankind's endangered.
Yes.
Why are they endangered?
Well,
Why do we get told?
this is a saga of the year 3000.
A saga of the year 3000.
Saga of the year 3000. So, the Cyclos. Do we want to just talk about the Barry Pepper storyline before we get into the Cyclos, or do we want to?
What storyline?
Well, I'm just talking about in context of the movie you're watching in sequence. Because it just says year 3000, mankind is an endangered
Oh, yes.
species. So, like, let's erase the whole thing where if you saw, like, a trailer with alien Cyclos and
Yeah.
you knew what the book was about, let's just, you're going into the movie for the first time. You don't know anything about it. It's just mankind, the year 3000, mankind is an endangered species. That's it.
Yes.
That's the text.
That is
There's
it.
no other text. It's not like they were wiped out by this alien race called the Cyclos and now they live as like village people. No, there's none of that. It's just mankind is an endangered species. I'm like, cool. Like they all got diabetes and died or whatever. Like who knows?
Yeah,
And
no
we're
explanation.
introduced to a bunch of cave people, essentially.
Yes.
But they all speak English.
Yes, they all
yeah.
speak English. And that's when we get the first like series of Dutch angles that
Yes.
never stops.
It just doesn't end.
It doesn't
I
end.
just don't see how, and I don't know anything about anything, but if an alien species wipes out humanity and there's only a certain number of people left, like why are all of a sudden they're wearing bones around their necks and cowhides?
Well, this was my question too, which was like, okay, this is the year 3000. How long ago was Earth?
1,000 years, apparently.
1,000. So that's my point. It's the year 2000 when they get invaded, right?
Yes.
And then the Cyclos take over. So the Cyclos have like owned Earth for 1,000 years or whatever.
Yes.
And some of them they own like
A very inefficient mining operation.
that takes
For 1,000 years.
that
they
takes
still haven't-
1,000
They
years.
still haven't
They're
blooded dry
still
yet?
there. Like what? And then like what was I gonna say? Oh, this movie's so God.
Incomprehensible is really the word.
But like so yeah, they invade 1,000 years ago. They wipe out everything. And so but there's still like all these like the ruins of like the modern day stuff, like the
Yeah.
buildings and the cars. There's still like electricity in some of these places,
Yes.
by the way.
Yeah.
We'll get to some scenes later, but like there's some moments when they sneak into these buildings where the lights just come on. I'm like,
Yes.
What? Wait, what?
Well, there are also moments where the lights change color
Well,
midway
yeah,
through the
that
shot.
too, that too. And so, yeah, they still speak English, but like humanity who has survived that is not enslaved by the Cyclos, which again we don't know about yet. They've like turned into primitive humans.
Yes.
It's like kind of like Planet of the Apes, but not quite that degenerative.
If only
yeah.
The Walking Dead had been there to show really what an apocalyptic society would look like.
Yeah.
Because that's where I would think man would go. Like they would hold on to their guns, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
not all of a sudden grab rocks and pitchforks. And maybe 1,000 years is a lot of time.
They
so
turn
there's
into
that.
Game of Thrones tribes is basically what they
They're
are.
all a bunch of wildlings.
They're
yeah.
wildlings, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I'd even say the wildlings are more intuitive and intelligent in their
Yeah.
evolution.
and
They're afraid of the gods.
yes, and this is when we get introduced to Barry P. Pepper, What was he in before this? Do you
Saving Private Ryan.
Yes, he was the sniper rifle in Saving Private Ryan. He's like, the Lord is my shepherd. There is nothing. And boom, take it. Like he
You're
was
right. He did this before this movie.
He did it before this movie. It was a cool character, and
He
it
was great.
He was in throughout the whole film too.
That's the
Yeah.
bit of Saving Private Ryan is his calling card. And they're like, this guy's the next great leading man.
Oh, no.
We're going to give him a lead role.
Oh.
And this is it. And then his career never recovers.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. Lone Ranger.
Like, but he never never has like the next leading
11
role
years later.
Yeah.
I know.
Also, can we just say, like, that guy, he looks like a Barry Pepper. And he sounds like a Barry Pepper. Like, with that, like, kind of southern accent he has, like, doesn't the name Barry Pepper just fit?
Well,
Maybe not for this movie.
Well, he doesn't have the accent in this movie.
But
we're talking
Johnny
about Barry
something.
Pepper in general, not like Barry Pepper in this movie.
Yeah, it's just Barry Pepper in general. Like, it's a name that fits the face. Like, he looks like a Barry Pepper.
I'll take your word for it.
Stuart looks lost.
I guess it's an interesting observation.
Sergeant Pepper.
But what's his name in the movie, Jeff?
Johnny Goodboy Tyler. He is seemingly in love with a woman of this tribe that he's in, but he rejects the hopelessness of the tribe and the fear of the gods.
Well, because like aren't they like short on food or something, and they don't go outside their gates.
Yeah, they don't go outside their gates because there's a dragon that will attack them.
Yeah, and
Oh my god, that was the beginning of the movie.
And yeah, there's the legend of the gods that there's these lights in the sky, that they're all the gods hovering over us, protecting us from the monsters and the demons or whatever. Like very tribalistic nature.
I just don't know where that comes from. There's not even like a big beast that the Cyclos used that they're inferring on. You know what I mean?
The dragon's from that mini golf course where he
Is that really all that it
That's
is?
literally what it is.
No.
Yep.
They don't go past the mini golf course.
And it's like
because of this.
It's like
no, that can't be it.
putt course keeps them from evolving. Because when you think about it,
for 1,000 years,
if anybody else,
all it took is Johnny Goodboy Tyler to be like,
Hit
maybe
it
I'll.
with a stick.
if any other person who walked that trail, the dragon came up, and then like, nah, I ain't doing this, and then they lived. How many? Like 500 years earlier, there might have been somebody who came across that putt course.
Yeah.
And if that person had decided to gone past the dragon like Johnny Goodboy,
Yes.
they would have evolved.
You also can't tell me when shit went down on Earth that there wasn't one moron that was like, I'm going as my life's mission now in this post-apocalyptic world is to keep this mini golf course opened and trimmed.
Open for business.
Open for business. That maybe after a couple of years they'd be like, oh, he's dead and now this has become overgrown and man, we used to go to this place all the time. But now it's evolved into some sort of demon that all of humanity's afraid of.
They're terrified of this putt
Is
course.
that really?
This putt course has kept at least
What
that tribe back.
Yeah.
But there's another tribe that lives within the putt course.
Yeah. Then there's the other tribe. So
we're like 15 minutes into this movie at this point.
Yeah.
We've explained like the first half of this is incomprehensible.
Wait. Sorry. I think Johnny is Bilbo Baggins.
He's going on an adventure.
He is Bilbo Baggins.
He is Bilbo Baggins, and I guess the mini golf is the Smaug.
Well, this is Lord of the Rings, but better.
As John would say.
Because he's just like bigger and better adventures, and then he leaves the tribe and immediately is running the rest of the movie. Oh my god!
And so he goes on this adventure. He
stumbles upon a mall.
Well, it was like once he gets past the dragon,
he encounters another tribe.
He encounters these two guys.
Oh,
and they're like, I don't know if could you call it a tribe? I just thought they were like little like hunters guys or whatever.
Seemingly the guy's name is Carlo, according to Wikipedia.
Okay.
Yeah, and according to the back of this limited edition Battlefield Earth action figure we have next to us, it is Carlo, and he's set up and quote, trapped in the Cyclo Dome. Carlo desperately fights for freedom! Exclamation point.
Yeah, that's correct. I ordered a Turl action figure off of eBay.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
There's just a box of explosives and he's holding a gun.
Why are his hands so big?
There's so many questions.
His hands are so big.
They are sizable.
I want to know.
God.
I want to know. We're gonna get to the. No, we should wait. We should wait before we start talking about the design of the Cyclos.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about the design.
We
of the Cyclos.
We gotta get to the Cyclos.
Slide in the hair ranking while you're at it.
Yeah. So, yeah. after he gets past the putt-putt dragon.
Yes.
That's a phrase I never thought I'd say on this podcast. After he gets past the putt-putt dragon, he finds these two like hunters.
Yes.
And they're all like, aggressive towards him. Like they're
Yeah.
holding spears, and he's like, I don't know, doing this like native like whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
like ooh, like doing like a Plan of the Apes.
Yeah.
It's like they go halfway with the Plan of the Apes
Yeah.
generative storyline.
Yeah.
It's like ooh, what are you doing here? Literally, it's
They
like
speak very clear English.
they do.
Very
They
clean.
speak very clear English, but then they cut out like ooh. Like, why are we doing that, guys?
Yeah,
You
it's
know
no good.
language.
It's no good.
You know what to say. You're like, stop.
And these guys are hostile, and don't they chase him?
They
or like,
threaten to eat him.
Yeah, they
But
threaten
then
to
for
eat
some
him.
reason they don't, and he joins their party.
Why? Does anybody know why? I still don't know why.
I have no idea.
No idea. No, he says like, what was it? It was like their conversation was something about like, I can show you where the gods live or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so he's like, what do you mean, like the gods? And he's like, if you come with me, I will show you where the gods live. And they're like, okay. And then he goes with them.
Yeah.
and then they stroll into a J.C. Penney.
They walk into an abandoned city.
Which, by the way, how many times has Johnny Goodboy, Barry Pepper, been in like an upper hand position where he loses it by no reason?
Yes.
Yeah.
No reason.
Oh yeah.
Consistently.
Consistently.
Every goddamn time.
He's the worst hero.
He's the worst hero.
Also, when we get to this mall, this is the first time the movie drops the fact that we're in Colorado.
Oh my God.
Is
They're
this
we're in I think this is Boulder because they go
Boulder.
to Denver.
about to
Denver's where
guys.
the cyclo city is.
I'm about to go to Colorado next week. Can I see?
Is
are
this
there
your Battlefield Earth pilgrimage?
if there's like any okay, listeners,
I'm gonna look up right now. Denver, Colorado Battlefield Earth tour.
No.
show me.
It
if
was
there,
all miniatures. This just doesn't
if there's any
exist.
Battlefield or Earth tourism. I'm already like gonna see the Stanley Hotel, so that'll be pretty cool. But which, by the way, I booked my Airbnb last night, guys.
Oh,
So it's
hell yeah.
official. I'm really
Huzzah.
going. Yeah. But yeah, I want to know if there's any Battlefield Earth tourism attractions in
Okay,
Colorado.
so they filmed all of this movie in
soundstage.
Canada.
Great.
But is there something in Scientology about Colorado?
It's about Mormonism and Jacksonville,
No, it's
Mississippi.
about what state looks the most like Canada. They're like
What?
Colorado.
And that would not be Colorado.
Yeah.
Like we're filming in the mountains of Canada. What looks like that? Colorado.
All right. I just couldn't get over the fact that the last time we saw this green text font, it was like, man's endangered. And all of a sudden, Denver, Colorado.
So they go to the shopping mall.
They're in the shopping mall.
And they're walking through, and the other Carlo, I think, is like, this used to be where the gods would live. They had golden arches where food would magically appear, which is a good bit. I like that line. In fact, I was leaning over my shoulder to confirm that I did, in fact, write that down as a line.
No, I
They're
see
talking about
above.
McDonald's, guys.
Yeah.
But
That's okay. I mean, I'm glad you found that funny. No, I
but
really do.
they kind of
When I tell you I have grayed all of this out of my memory outside of Denver, Colorado, and putt putt mini golf. That is all I remember.
Well, I had a random detail. Didn't they eat glass in this scene?
I believe they eat some glass.
They eat some
Oh,
glass.
he gives him a big shot of glass and he goes, "It's sharp," and then he puts it in his mouth. He goes, "No, keep it." All right.
The guy tries
Right?
to eat glass.
Yeah, he tries to eat glass.
Johnny tries to eat glass.
How stupid are these people?
I know.
I'm sorry, guys. Oh, jeez.
But they kind of drop some Scientology in this moment. They kind of
really?
explain like their version of what happened. It's like the gods left us because this society became too materialistic. Which, as we learned last week in our Scientology orientation video, Xenu and enlightenment or whatever the hell, it only happens when you drop materialism and commit yourself solely to your spiritual.
I will commend the
And they-
film in one detail only. They're sitting in a mall, like a shopping mall, when he says, "Man has fallen to materialism." Not a bad,
Not a bad metaphorical thing.
no.
What hath we wrought?
But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, they preach that thing about materialism on their Class 5 yacht.
Yes. Which
Oh
is the
my
problem with
God.
Scientology.
So I'm sorry, but that's got to
Yeah.
be called out right away.
Yeah, yeah.
But that that's the subliminal nature of the Scientology elements in this movie. But then, they're
sprinkled in. Yeah.
their little discussion gets interrupted.
Oh my god!
By what, Jeff?
A green
cyclone.
A green
followed by a green light that we do not see for the remainder of the movie.
Yeah, this is this mall is only lit by like orange flame. But then suddenly it all turns green when the cyclone appears.
Like overtly matrix green.
Amazingly, like immediately, just boom, green.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone put like the tint slider on a Premiere and went green.
Yeah.
All the way green with it.
I think I mentioned to you last night, Jeff, that the white balance on this movie was on shuffle. The green is aside. I see it's like a little bit of a character moment for this cyclo, who I thought was going to be John Travolta, and is
it's
not.
deeply depressing. It isn't.
It's not him. Yeah, but they do all this like spooky kind of
like you don't see
arbitrary
the whole
shots.
cyclo. Yeah, you see like these Dutch angle close-ups of like the feet and like the hair and the armor.
And then
it's
these
wearing.
awful phaser guns that have just some of the worst effects I've seen.
What the fuck are these phaser guns, guys? So are they stun guns? Like apparently they are like
They do have a
stun to kill.
There's one set to stun.
Set to stun.
I literally wrote that down.
But like they seemingly shoot projectiles because like it's a thing that goes.
Yeah, it's a concussive thing that just like makes everyone fly.
Yeah,
because you could tell that they just had ropes on. Like I remember these like set of mannequins that they shot at or whatever, and they just get swept like their feet from under them. Mm-hmm. Like it's not explosive; it's more like it just pushes everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I really wanted this to be John Travolta because I'm like, this might be the best entrance for John Travolta.
And no, it's just some random.
It's
just some random guy.
It's a random cyclo.
Like one cyclo in this shopping mall that is like, hey, we got to get these three guys.
He murders one of the hunters and kills John Travolta's horse. I mean, Barry Pepper's horse.
Yeah.
Barry Pepper goes no, and then he and Carlo both get stunned.
Yeah, there are a lot of slow motion shots, and it's funny because they did shoot in slow motion, like in like 100 frames or so, and there are some really good shots in that sequence. Mm-hmm. Okay, really good shot. I will say one shot where he's like running through the multiple panes of glass, and it's got some Matrix level effects going on. I could tell that they experimented with the projectiles and what looked best.
Yeah.
But then they match it with the 24 frame slowing down, which is really just kind of like this blurry,
chunky,
blotchy slow motion, and they pair it right next to this like seemingly really decent slow motion footage. I could not tell why they were doing that. But although this is the year 2000, that shit was all over the place.
This is one of those movies where you could conceivably probably lop 20 minutes off by making everything the same speed.
Yeah.
Like if you were to speed up all the slow mo shots, it'd probably be 20 minutes short, like a crisp hour and a half.
That's very true.
And then Johnny Goodboy wakes up in like a cage on a spaceship.
Yes.
That's flying up in the air.
Over Colorado.
He's being taken to a new destination.
To the Denver processing facility.
Yes.
Where there's some like Prince of Egypt level of slave labor going on.
It's this giant glass dome. That's not really a dome. It's like it's very octagonal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
but it's called the Cyclodome.
The Cyclodome. Of no connection to the Metro. Of no connection to the Metrodome or the Doug Dimmadome. This movie would have been at least 20% better if they'd gone in there and you just see like a bunch of cyclists dribbling, shooting hoops and shit.
God, that would have been amazing.
Or if they had just taken camp inside of a football stadium and decided to keep it
like the
Metrodome.
Yeah.
Humans call this the Metrodome. We shall call this the Cyclodome. The Metrodome sign just gets ripped off the side and Cyclo is replaced.
Very hastily, a piece of cardboard with Cyclo written on it. So my thing is, they've owned Denver for 1,000 years at this point.
1,000
They've
years.
done nothing to mix it up a little bit.
No.
It's still got all the busted-ass human buildings.
Yeah.
And like their bar is just as bar.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, we're about to get our what's the bar Mos Eisley?
The cantina.
Yeah, the cantina in Star
This
Wars.
is the cantina from hell on it.
Yeah, oh yeah, genuinely. But also, we haven't mentioned yet that there are two types of cyclos. People who
Named
decided
cast
to
members
get
and
people who
uncredited
could sit
extras.
in the cosmetics chair and people who do not.
That's literally what I'm glad you said that, because I had the same thought where it's like, because the first time when they drop the ship and Barry Pepper comes out, first off, he can't breathe.
Yeah.
And like none of them can breathe. They're like, oh my God, like I can't breathe. And then they put these like nose oxygen things
Yeah.
that allow you to breathe or whatever. Cool.
It's established that the cyclos can't breathe Earth's air.
Yeah.
And the humans can't breathe cyclo air.
Yeah.
Cyclo gas. I think it's more of a
Cyclo-gas.
gas. Yeah.
Yeah. So they put on these like oxygen things, and that's when you see like the cyclos in their full
Yeah.
thing. So let's talk about the cyclos here,
Yes.
their design. They are
Very Klingon.
like 10,
Yeah.
10 feet tall.
yes.
They're like around
They're very tall.
and they're very obviously wearing lifts because
Yeah.
their legs are 7 of the 10 feet.
And they
Yeah.
all walk very, very,
Very
strangely.
awkwardly. Do you ever see a cyclo run in this movie?
No.
Oh
They
my
all
God.
walk-
Right?
Oh my God, you don't.
Yeah.
They all walk fast.
They all walk fast.
There's this shot of there's actually a head to toe shot of what's his name?
Forrest Whitaker?
Forrest Whitaker, and he's literally like dragging his feet. he can't even like keep his shoulders straight because he has to swing his legs from underneath him. And I just go, he can't walk.
They all walk very ploddingly.
Who did this that they could not walk? And part of me is just like, maybe that's why they shot a lot of this like in mediums, because a head to toe shot is
cyclos
just
couldn't walk.
goofy as shit.
Yeah.
It's goofy.
Yeah, they're all like in these full wide shots. They're obviously wearing these like ginormous lifts.
Very big boots.
Very big boots. So like out of the 10 feet of their height, like at least 6.5 is just their legs.
Yeah.
To waist down.
All legs, no
all
waist.
legs, no waist. Then, and I'm just talking about the first appearance of a cyclo
Yeah.
we see. Because we haven't gotten to the Travolta
Forrest
Whitaker
Whitaker.
cyclo.
Okay, yeah, not yet.
So like their face is like humanoid,
Yeah.
but it's got a little bit of
It's the Klingon thing where it has like
Yeah.
like they're very similar to Klingons down to the dreadlocks, but like
Yeah.
they have like the crested forehead and
Tilted eyebrows.
tilted eyebrows.
yeah.
It's almost dangerously close to a Klingon.
It's dangerously close to a Klingon.
So this is like the bastard brother of Star Trek.
And they have this alien
Tongue.
tongue,
Oh.
and
What you got to find?
yeah.
Oh, I thought we were talking about that lady's tongue.
Oh, I was.
From
Oh,
later.
they do
I
have
was
an
so
they do have
sorry.
an alien tongue.
They
later.
established one female cyclo in this
Yes,
entire
and it is
movie.
Kelly Preston, John Travolta's wife.
No,
Is
it
it?
is not.
yes,
No, it is not.
is.
No, it is not.
it is.
No.
Oh wow.
God, I'm looking that.
That
up.
really did me
I'm
in.
fact checking that. Don't you dare,
We're
Jeff. Don't you?
You hid this from me as we were watching this
Don't
too.
you dare! I didn't even notice.
You didn't even allow me the satisfaction of knowing that he roped his wife
Oh
into
my
this movie.
God, he's right. Oh no!
The injustice.
There's
Oh God! Oh.
Yeah, this sets me.
This broke
this
Stuart.
sends me because then he. Well, I guess it's better that it's his
That he
wife,
sexualizes his own wife in the
right?
movie.
But she's got like this crazy tongue.
Yeah, for
That she doesn't use
seemingly
just
licking
once,
his
but
dick.
twice. Yeah,
this
let's
is established.
And it's a really bad CGI tongue too. It looks
Yeah.
like it falls out of her mouth. Oh, Kelly Preston.
That broke
Rest in
me a
peace.
little bit.
Fuck. Where are we? Oh yeah, the first look at a Klingon.
We
for
haven't even
Cyclo.
gotten to John Travolta
No.
yet.
So like, this is gonna carry into the hair ranking,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
alien dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Let's cue the hair ranking music. Welcome to the hair ranking.
Do we have the info on the budget of artificial hair used in this movie?
I would say 20% of the budget
Yeah, easily.
was hair.
Those headpieces are huge.
I'm looking through like photos of like John Travolta with his hair. And folks,
Oh, it's burned into my brain. I do not need a photo reference.
like, well, first off, like he has like a prosthetic head extension.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they put the hair over that like head extension. So it's like he looks like a lion, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he has like a mane practically. And then with the long hair. Still with like basically like a human sized beard, but then like a bottom portion of it like falls off, like is really long. Like it's not like his full
Neck
face.
beard.
Like he has a long neck beard, but he doesn't have like
He has like a little goatee.
yeah, but he doesn't have like
is.
in terms of his face and his cheeks and his lip, like that's not long.
Yeah.
Like that one, like that's like trim. Like it's like trimmed facial hair. So it like look at this. Like you see like how like this is all
Yeah.
trimmed up, but then he's got the weird neck beard shit going on.
You're right. These cyclos shave.
These cyclos shave. And I imagine they use you know, Gillette or whatever, but yeah, so the hair in this is an abomination.
Yeah.
And that is putting it in the best possible way.
If this doesn't go to the very bottom, I'll be very surprised. What do you think?
I need a second to like just explain the audience. So let me have a donut here.
I think we've broken Stuart.
All right, so he looks like a lion. His beard is like halfway between trimmed and growing out. He's got the prop head extensions bullshit going on.
Yeah.
It just makes him look big. Like, you know, like we talk about
He's sizable.
Yeah, he's very sizable. Like there isn't like an isolated head of John Travolta. It's like it's all attached to like he's got like 6 inches of hair to his right and left, 5 inches of head and hair up on top, and then he's got the beard that goes down. Plus you count the armor that accentuates his look. Like he just looks
Like when they shoot him, he fills the frame.
Yes.
And then that's not necessarily a stylistic choice, just hard to frame without him
and
being
like
the majority of the shot.
Yeah.
again to go back. I'm extending this hair ranking out a little bit, and I'm talking a little more than just the hair. But like what confused me a lot was what you just said, Becca. How like there are people who clearly were in the prosthetic makeup chair for their look, and then ones who did not.
Like why are not even half, I would say like 75% are in facial prosthetics, and then Forrest Whitaker and John Travolta.
It's like they wanted the aliens to look like aliens, but they're like, John and Forrest, that gotta have that face recognition on the poster.
And there really isn't a consistency because there's that like really like gobbly neck guy.
Yeah, they all look different.
They do.
Yeah.
It's a diverse cyclo race.
So let's see the hair ranking. Let's see the list.
Let's see it.
Put it below the experts.
It's going at the very bottom. It's at the very bottom.
It's going at the
We
very
have a
bottom.
new loser, folks.
Battlefield Earth is the worst hair style I have ever seen. John
Arguably
Travolta
in film, maybe.
In film, yeah, maybe. I've only done a lot of extensive hair rankings on Travolta.
Yeah.
When we get to our You, Me, and Sir Ian McKellen podcast, I'll rank the Ian McKellen hair, but his hair is usually
Charles.
pretty good.
Yeah, offhand, I can't think of a worse.
I mean, this is like it's the Klingon.
Like that's at least flowy.
very bottom of the list.
Yes.
Very bottom of the list, John Travolta's Battlefield Earth hair, and I don't foresee a future movie where it gets toppled. So I think it will be permanently.
Yeah, I think we have a new winner.
Can you
For a
lock
fact
that column?
that we can
you lock that column?
Battlefield Earth as the worst hair.
The fanatic has to be close.
It
When we get
will
to that
not
point.
go below Battlefield Earth.
Okay.
It will not.
Right, so,
And that is the hair ranking for Battlefield Earth. And I guess that's also kind of my sum up of the Cyclos design.
Yeah.
Is they are big, tall. Some of them
Ugly.
look different. A lot of them look ugly. A lot of them look like John
at the
Travolta.
end of the day, it's just a poor design. It's a
very
poor
bad
design.
design.
Yeah.
It's a very bad
They don't
design.
look cool in any
Because there
way.
are ugly aliens, like, you know,
That
in
look
a
cool.
human standard that look like we don't just like, oh, I can't look at
They
this.
look like the bastard child of a Klingon and Bib Fortuna.
Yeah. Well, what's with their hobbit hands?
They all have big hands.
They have big hairy hands.
Yeah. The hands bother me the least.
It's the big
bother
feet.
me
It's
the
it's the big feet that do it for me.
Yeah. You could tell that they had to use head to toe shots very sparingly.
Because they're all like boom.
I'd like to think that if they were not shooting their feet, they did not have those stilts on, so they could actually walk. You know what I mean?
I hope they all have the stilts.
So where are we at in the movie at this
Okay.
point?
So let's get right into John Travolta.
Yeah.
Because Barry Pepper, he gets assimilated into the prison.
Yeah.
And first he has his Jesus moment
Which is
where like there's this guy's like, let me show you how it is around here. I eat first, then my guys eat, and then everyone else eats. And then Barry Pepper punches him in the face and says, no, we all eat at the same time. And he grabs like a slop of food and some woman eats out of his hand.
oh my god.
'Cause he's becoming like the Messiah or something.
Yeah, it's the bread and fish. Feeds
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
So that happens. And then we're introduced to...
What a lovely like piece of sludge though. That he's just, like,
It
holding
was
in his
awful.
hand.
I
It
wanted
was
to, it
awful.
looks like vomit. I wanted to vomit.
It was awful.
It was probably made out of like mashed peas and corn.
I took it very eagerly.
Yeah, honestly, kudos to that extra who, I don't know, out of the entire group walked from the back of the room to grab a handful of the sludge and she just immediately gobbles it.
So
But then walks out free. Ugh.
Turl, played by John Travolta, or Turrell as some people say, is the head of security. He's the security chief of the Denver, Colorado Earth operation.
Like
where they're mining for gold.
okay.
They're hooting and hollering, mining for gold, old prospectors.
Okay. So, a couple things with that. They prop them like. Are there more cyclo base of operations on Earth?
No, that is the thing that's really confusing. Is this is the only one?
This is the only one on Earth.
They've been here for 1,000 years.
They've
They're
been-
only mining Denver.
But they're mining for gold, but only in one spot.
That is seemingly the case.
And John Travolta is the chief of security there.
Yes.
But Earth is not their only colony where
Yes,
they're mining
They have
stuff.
many colonies.
So he's the chief of security of one of many mining colonies.
Yes.
Okay.
And he wants a promotion from home office.
So, okay.
Let's talk about the cycle hierarchy. Let's talk about the cycle hierarchy.
So they're an alien race.
It's seemingly a capital, like it's like
It's hyper capitalist.
hyper capitalist.
Yeah. All about profits and greed.
Their government is home office.
Home office.
Home office.
Played by Steve Carell.
No, they're home planet of Cyclo because they're Cyclos from the planet Cyclo.
And they speak the language cyclo.
And they speak Cyclo.
And what kind of food do they eat?
Cyclo.
food.
in the
but-
cyclodome.
In the Cyclodome.
This is awful.
Their government is their government is home office, and they operate on like a promotion basis, and also just like poor wages. It's like capitalist slave labor essentially.
And we're all hearing them in English, by the way.
Yes, we're here. This movie Hunt for Red October's us.
Yeah,
Where-
the prosthetic faced cyclos
Mm-hmm.
are all like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." And then John Travolta comes in and goes, "Who is this man?" it throws me off. I even wrote a note that says, "JT is not even attempting an alien timbre." Like, is this the Disney dilemma where like some animals are sentient and some are not? Like,
Oh my
The
god.
thing is, this movie tries to do the Hunt for Red October thing, but it doesn't set it up. Like until halfway through the movie when you've already heard them talking for 40
that's so
fucking
true.
minutes.
I did not infer that Johnny could not understand the cyclos.
right.
Yeah.
I never had that thought cross my mind until he matrixed himself into the cyclo dome.
Like for 40 minutes, the best you can understand is like the Cyclos, some of them speak and some of them speak English. Halfway through the movie, they finally establish, oh no, when we're with the Cyclos, we're just hearing them in English as if it was translated.
Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, Hunt for Red October.
You're so right.
They're trying to do the fucking opening shot of October. They don't do it until an hour into the movie, establishing the whole time. I'm like, oh, this is what has been going on.
Yeah, they have not been speaking English, but until that point, like we just think they speak English.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they're speaking English, but not only are they speaking English, they have a very anthropological hierarchy. Like this is my big beef with aliens, just in general.
Yes.
It's just how much we anthropomorphize.
Anthropomorphize, I think, is the...
Anthropomorphize? Yes.
I think so.
That's
Wow.
the term. Just having eyeballs is like very much. I mean, I guess like animals also have eyeballs.
It's a very
but like
human
the limb
thing.
thing.
It's a very
like,
Earth thing.
It's a very Earth thing. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be more Scientology like if they were more of like an annihilation level alien, where it's really just like a form?
Yeah.
Like that, my impression of Scientology is like really this like complex thing versus whatever the fuck this is.
The idea of Scientology is that every planet was seeded essentially by the same race or same Xenu. So we would all look the same.
Yeah.
Essentially.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, and support. So there's a phrase I'll never say. In support of the Scientology lore, I shall question no more. Why they all look pretty close to humans then, except they just like we're gonna make them 3 feet taller, have
Yeah.
bigger hands, and weird ass hair.
Yeah.
Oh, and some of them are gonna look different.
Yeah. But
We're talking about a better alien invasion movie. The alien design in Independence Day is really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But like the idea, to go back to the Scientology of it all, is that the Cyclos are the antithesis of, Dianetics and L. Ron Hubbard's teachings, and that they are purely a materialist society.
Yeah.
They only care about promotions and whatnot.
Very Earth human like, but again,
Yes.
I'll keep. But
Like Turl wants to have like some sort of high rise on Cyclo, and he goes, I'm going to retire and go away with all my millions of
and my 5 wives.
my 5 wives, and maybe one of them will be beautiful. Oh,
He
God.
deadass he wants a promotion so he can go back to Cyclo and like live in an apartment. It's basically his motivation in this movie.
And they don't even sugarcoat it as like, oh, I want to have some sort of insert alien, commodity here. Like he's just like, I want to have a nice house. on
He
Cyclo.
literally wants an apartment.
Yeah. It's weird.
But he does not. His superior teleports in from Cyclo because they teleport.
This sort of
They teleport.
diplomat.
This diplomat shows up
They have spaceships, but they teleport.
and has dinner with Turl and his deputy Kerr, played by Forrest Whitaker, who the first IMDb trivia fact for this movie is, and I quote, Forrest Whitaker expressed his regret for participating in this movie. Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Do you think Forrest and Travolta are still friends?
I would not.
I think if I was like, listen, Jeff, we're best friends, right? Like, if you said, Stu, let's do this movie together. And I'm like, we already did one. And like, it was okay. Phenomenon. It was pretty good. Like, you're right. Okay, let's do something. What is it?
Was he in Phenomenon?
Yeah, him and Forrest Whitaker in Phenomenon. It's like, they're getting back to work together again, right? And he says, like, hey, Forrest. And you're like, what's up, John? We worked on Phenomenon. It was a great experience, right? I'm like, yeah, it was a good experience. Well, do I have a script?
for you.
And he's like, what is it, man? It's like, well, I don't know if you remember, like, on day 39 of Phenomenon, we had that lunch break, and we were hanging out in my trailer, and I showed you that Battlefield. Oh, right. It's like, well, I got the funding.
Come on
Forrest
now.
Whitaker is trying to reflect on every conversation where he told John he should pursue his dreams, and he's just like, no.
Why did I do this?
And he's
What
like,
happened?
oh, God, and I want you to play the bad guy's sidekick.
The punching bag of this
The
movie.
punching bag
Really
of this.
is.
Yeah. And he's like,
Justice for Kerr.
Big takeaway I get from this though is that Forrest Whitaker really likes wearing big prosthetic suits because he does a very similar
yeah.
suit in Rogue One.
In Rogue One. This was a
As
practice
Saw
round.
Gerrera.
look.
Lies, deceptions, every day.
He does
Go
not-
on it.
Okay, so when this diplomat or this government dude shows up,
Is that you?
I can't.
Please stop.
When he comes in, all of a sudden John Travolta's like, ah, yes, welcome to my abode. He like starts talking in this strange way, and he does it throughout the film at random, but this is the first time he goes from like, ha, let's get this puny human into a cage, and he goes back, hello.
Yeah, he throws in like a
welcome."
British accent when he's
like some sort of high-end
To now
hoity-toity.
run no longer.
It's so strange. And I even like, I asked you to pause it and go like, what the fuck is he talking? Like,
Yeah.
why is he talking like that?
he like does his normal like, John Travolta, I am him like voice, but then he's like, oh yes, welcome to Earth, your magistrate.
Yeah, and they're having this conversation that obviously the diplomat is just gonna be like, no, you're actually gonna do 50 cycles. And this whole time they have like this passive aggressive kind of, and maybe the like hoity-toity talk works for that, but I just could not understand. And he, like I said, he does it throughout the film when he's like talking about his plans to do with the human, the plans that shift every 20 minutes. Like he's just like, yes, and then the humans will mine for us in Boulder. It's so weird.
And this is like where we haven't really talked about the acting in this movie, but I think this
really
is a
haven't.
great scene.
What acting?
I think this is a great scene to like highlight how amazing everybody is. Nobody is without sin in this movie.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
here's the thing. I said this to you guys last night. Like, you know, we've watched some pretty bad John Travolta movies. And a lot of those, it's like they're bad just because, like, you know, they're either not original or like they don't know what kind of
First-time
movie they are,
directors,
first-time
yeah.
directors. And oftentimes, like, John Travolta's putting his all in those movies.
Yeah.
Like, he's usually not the problem.
Yeah.
John Travolta is very much the problem.
He is the problem with
He
this
is
movie.
the
Down to
problem.
Well-
production, to screenwriting, to
Oh, I see your
director,
point, I
to
see your point.
acting.
to acting, because again, we just talked about the yes, my liege, come,
Yeah.
and he, like literally how he talks that way.
Yeah.
But then like the scene where the
Half of his dialogue is him laughing maniacally
okay, there's like a scene
in the cantina from hell.
yes, where he's like, oh, like you won't tell them about my little thing or what, like the bartender's doing something illegal or
Yeah.
something.
Oh
Bart-
my god.
And he's like, "Oh no, I'll. Don't worry, friend. I will not file the report." It's like, "Oh, thank you, because I already have."
What is this?
And his-
What is this? He does it too
Yeah.
with the bartender, but he's just like, perhaps you. This is the very end
Yeah.
of the movie, but he's doing that weird voice again.
Oh, yeah.
When he's like, perhaps you told someone about my plans, and Forrest Whitaker is just like, nah, dude, I didn't do anything. And he goes, well, maybe you'll talk to. Pulls out the head of the bartender. The bartender. He literally says the barkeep or something like that.
And there's a scene later in the movie where like it's like John Travolta and Barry Pepper, and he's like threatening to kill one of his friends. He's like, no, please, like don't kill him, don't kill him. He's like, all right, just this once, I won't kill him.
And there's a lot of time that we simmer in that moment.
And then he hands the gun to Forrest Whitaker, and he's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "I said I wouldn't kill him."
Well, that happens again in the bartender scene at the
Yes!
beginning, because after he says like, "I've already filed it," he's like, the bartender's like, "You wouldn't have done that to your friend," and he's like, "No, I wouldn't, because I'm not your friend." This happens like 5 times in this movie where he does this. I would say 25 times in this
That's
movie. where he does
because Turl is evil.
He's so evil.
during this
God.
during this dinner
John
scene,
Travolta's a bad actor in this movie.
he's
is all
awful
I-
in this.
Yeah.
During the scene where he's meeting with the home office people and having dinner with them. This is when Becca looked over to me and said, "Jeff, end the podcast.
This has to end.
This has to stop." And I said, 30 more episodes, baby.
30 more episodes.
But this is when he's told he's not getting the promotion due to, as the Wikipedia synopsis says, unexplained incidents involving, quote, the senator's daughter.
Yeah, because he was like,
Wow.
the senator sends his. He's like, well, I spoken to the senator, and he agrees that you should stay for another 50 cycles.
And then they all do the laughter at John.
And then and then it cuts to a different scene where he's walking, where Travolta's like walking with him out, And he's like, I didn't know that was his daughter. Like,
Oh my God. I guess I'd never even, because I just like, oh, Turl's a bad guy. I want him to suffer. So I was just like, I don't even care what he did. But yeah, 50 more cycles. Fuck you. But then he's just like, Seinfeld level, but don't. Well, I didn't know that was her daughter. Like, punchline sinker, the rest of the movie goes.
yeah.
John Travolta goes and gets drunk because he feels bad.
And what's
How
the
does
name of
this-
their drink?
Oh,
Find that out right now.
Do you know?
He's like, one carrymonger on the house.
and dead ass, this boy, this barkeep loads a beaker.
A beaker.
They're literal beakers.
They are beakers.
It is called Kerbango.
Kerbango.
What is this
I found a
website?
Battlefield Earth drinking game that says
Kerbango.
drink when anyone says man animal, anyone says leverage, the cyclos laugh, there's a center wipe. Extreme version, add cyclo for an additional 20 plus drinks. Okay, so I want to talk about the wipes. Because pretty much the only blockbuster franchise that successfully pulled off using wipe transitions is Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is the only one.
It is very notably the only one that's managed to pull it off. And it made it part of the texture of those movies, which is why it works, is like you expect it. And there's some very fun wipes in those movies. For some reason, they're like, Battlefield Earth can do the same. But they only use one wipe transition. There's no variety.
and it's so slow.
And it's the center wipe.
It's so slow.
Because one of my favorites is in one of the prequels. I can't remember what. It cuts to the Senate dome, which is just like a big dome. And it uses the clock transition where it goes like that for the dome.
Yeah, like a half moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie is just center wipe.
Very slow. There's only one time where I thought it worked kind of well because John Travolta's face was on the right side of the frame and then it went to Cyclo and his head was replaced with Cyclo on the right side of the frame. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah. We've accomplished
on.
one good edit, folks.
And it's so slow. It's so slow. If it was much faster, I probably wouldn't have had a problem with it. Besides it being goofy as hell.
So Kerr comes up with an idea. Turl comes up with the idea initially that the place where they can mine for gold is the only place they haven't gone yet. And that's areas of high radioactivity.
Because
Radioactivity is dangerous to them. It would kill the cyclos. It like reacts with their breathing gas or something.
Oh, right.
And why do they need to mine the gold? Well, because
It's never established why they need gold.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
But
It's
they
an
need gold.
Earth valuable item. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily an extraterrestrial valuable
Yeah.
item.
But they're operating at a loss for profits, I guess,
Because they're paying
Home
their
office,
workers
man.
too much.
because they're paying their workers too much, right?
So home office wants to cut wages and increase productivity.
And that's
which is
when-
these cyclos need to unionize. That's what needs to happen.
Well, and like that's when John Travolta says, "Well, man animals like to work."
He's like, we don't have to pay them, and
don't have
home
to
office
pay
says,
man
no,
animals."
that is against the edict.
It's
Then
like,
why are there hundreds of slaves just outside their door?
like, what are they using the slaves
They're like-
for?
It's never
Hammering
shown.
walls?
They just walk around the ruins of Denver being whipped. They don't use them for anything.
Yeah, they're like dragging rocks and shit. That's it.
They've been here for 1,000 years, and they're just beginning cleanup operations, seemingly.
It does look like they're
Yeah.
just cleaning up. Yeah. At some point, there are literally two man animals just hammering a ceiling tile with these big sledgehammers. And they're
This movie,
unexplainable what they're actually
these
trying
movies
to
make
do.
no sense.
None at all.
But
So him and Kerr.
Kerr decide, well, what if we create a proof of concept operation where we make man animals and we don't tell home office. We pocket the gold, and then if it works out well, we can make this like the new system, and we can get a lot of gold for ourselves.
Right.
Because the man can hunt in areas of high radioactivity where we can't. So this
Is
is their
that
plan.
really what's going on? I just didn't pick up
According to the
any of this.
Wikipedia synopsis, that is the plot of this movie.
Okay.
There's like 40 minutes of this movie. It's just Turl and Kerr being like, what if we use the mad animals to mine? Ha, ha, ha. And then Kerr's like, it is my idea. And John Travolta's like, no, it's my idea. Ha, ha, ha.
But then he records him saying that it was his idea,
Yeah.
so he can pin him as a patsy.
yeah, he
in case-
records a video. of
They're
Forrest
constantly
Whit-
backstabbing each other.
Yeah.
And Forrest Whitaker's like, oh, I can't believe I let you get me like that. And he's like, yes, never do a crime unless you have a patsy.
It's like, but do you think I'd backstab you? It's like, it doesn't matter what I think.
This is just verbal garbage.
It's pure
Nothing.
nonsense.
So they got to study humans.
So they got to study humans. So they hide a bunch of cameras in their like cells. No, they let Johnny go. Isn't
We're
that
talking
the bit?
button cams. Here.
Button cams.
This is when the movie completely loses me. I have no idea what's happening.
Well, because I remember this very clearly, where it's like, we need to find leverage on them. What can we leverage? Well, man animals need food.
Yeah.
Let's let them go and see what food they like. And then they like let the three guys go. They have button cams, and the first thing they find is a rat. And they're like, "Oh, they must really love rats."
This scene was so incomprehensibly stupid.
They're eating it raw.
Yeah.
The thing that's incomprehensible about this sequence is there's like 4 different back and forths of they let Johnny go, they bring him back, they let him go again,
They bring
arrest
him
him again.
There is a lot of that.
There's a lot, to the extent that I had no idea what I thought there were like time jumps. I wasn't sure what was happening.
But I also wrote down, like, they've been on the planet for 1,000 years.
Yes.
They've known humans for 1,000 years, and they don't know what they eat. They don't know how to fly.
No.
What is this study
Turl
for?
seemingly knows where all of human knowledge is kept because he flies him to a library later.
Yeah, Library of Congress.
But he doesn't know that they eat, like, what they eat, aside from rat.
But aren't there basins of, like, oatmeal in, like, the
Fly to
cages?
the fucking abandoned Quaker Oats factory. You'll find some stuff there, Turl.
It's so weird. It wastes so much time on this.
So
Because
much.
it goes nowhere. They don't use the food as leverage. They don't use any of this.
No.
So they select Johnny as the head of the mining operation that they're gonna. This is incomprehensible to speak.
Yeah.
And so they take him and they put him into like a learning room. And
Wait.
we jumped.
I feel like we
Did we jump?
jumped.
There's
a
something in
lot.
between. There is something in between. I just don't know what.
Well, like, he tries to escape many times, and like
Yeah.
he kills one of the cyclos.
yes,
And I remember this scene because it's so fucking dumb. So Johnny Goodboy steals one of the guns and kills one of the cyclos.
Oh, yeah.
And then like they get the gun back from him, and they arrest him. And then Travolta walks in, like, what is happening here? What happened to this? It's like a man animal killed him. It's like a man animal killing a cyclo. That'll be the day.
And then it goes, hand him the gun and
Hand
see.
him the gun.
What is this?
They say hand him the gun, and they hand him the gun, and what is he
kills another one.
He kills another one. He's like, oh, I guess he did.
What?
You are an interesting specimen. Like,
The fact that this piggybacks off of they eat rats raw to hand him the gun. Oh, no. Like, these scenes in a package deal, I think, summarize Battlefield Earth.
Are
and
this
just how,
movie.
yeah.
oh no, the battle sequence. The last battle scene is.
yeah. This movie's called Battlefield. There's a significant lack of battlefield, and it only takes place in Denver, Colorado.
Well, just as the trailers and at some point, multiple times throughout the movie, man can't even fight for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, why is where does that 9 minutes
it's
come
established
from?
that the Cyclos took over Earth in 9 minutes.
Oh. Well, that's
It was the
awfully
Library of
specific.
Congress scene, because he like shows him the knowledge around. He was like, all of the technology that your ancestors had, and it only took us 9 minutes to take control of Earth.
Yes, because
Yeah, when does that happen?
once they select Johnny as the specimen,
Yeah.
Turtle's like, you must learn your history, and you must learn my history, so you can lead your people. He's actually training this guy to
Be
to
a
rebel,
Messiah.
Volt, yeah.
to rebel, which is a bad idea.
Yeah, how is this advantageous to him for him to be like, I need to learn the humans' ways. Now you need to learn our ways. What does that do?
It first starts off with like he wants him to learn the Cyclo language so he can talk to him.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was like the initial thing.
So he puts him in the learning room. I want to talk about this learning
I
room.
feel
Learning
like
room.
we're jumping, but I honestly feel like it's fine.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like 20 minutes of business.
It's like, well, it's not business. It's
no, it's
rubbish.
business. Like
Oh.
literal business occurring. It's Lou Travolta meeting with his superiors and being like, "Now I run the mining operations.
Yeah, I am losing track.
Home office must never know."
All right, so learning center.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's
So
get
he
to
puts him in a
center.
learning center. He like straps him in this chair, and the most insane possible thing happens. A CGI hologram of this alien pops up. He sounds like Eeyore. he's like, hi, I am from another planet. The cyclos took over my people. I am probably dead when you're watching this, but I was contracted to make this educational video. And he's like, I will put all of the knowledge of the cyclo into your brain.
Yeah, that
the
was...
hologram disappears. Insane.
No context.
And then they start like Irina Spalcoing knowledge right into his fucking eyeballs.
Why? First question. What was the whole point of the alien?
Yeah.
Why was he-
He's like, what you want? It's like the Severus Snape thing from Harry Potter Half-Blood Prince. It's like, I shall attempt to penetrate your mind. You shall attempt to resist. Prepare yourself.
Except this fucking alien being like, I will put knowledge in your head. And they just start fucking zapping it right through his eyeballs. And he's like, and they pull him away. And he now understands Cyclo.
He's like, more you, hey. He walks in, he's like, do you understand me?
My God, Stuart.
That's
Oh my
exactly
God.
what happens.
We need a Stuart does the sound effects for the learning room scene. Oh my God. Yeah, and this is easily
And he tries to
half
shove a
the way.
rat in his mouth too. Right? Doesn't he do that?
Yeah.
He brings a rat into the room and he's like, eat the rat, you eat the rat. Do you understand me? No, it doesn't work. And then he turns they go and then the machine says
there's also like after the learning room, there's actually like a bunch of like humans enter the room somehow. I don't know where they come
Yeah, all
from.
these humans show up and they're like, you're becoming too close with the cycle. He's like, I must learn. And he goes
He's like,
back
turn
in.
it back on. Well,
Yeah.
no, they don't turn it off. They like get him out of the beam.
Yeah.
They get him out of the beam and he's like, what's happening? He's like, it's like a machine that like teaches you their knowledge. It's a bunch of numbers and math. It's like, I need to know more. It's our way to defeat them. So he puts his line of sight back into the beam. He's like, ugh.
And the dudes are just like, whoa, leave the room. I wrote down, I'm like, I just keep shouting, who is this people? Who is this guy? Who is this person?
There's all these characters who keep popping up. I have no idea who any of them are.
They will have an emotional send-off of Turl shooting them straight in the face, and everyone will have the slow motion, no. And I'm like, who is this person?
I have no
this
idea
is
who
the
this
first
is.
time I've seen them. Yeah.
So, after he learns cyclo knowledge, Turl takes him to human knowledge. At first, he takes him to the official library of Boulder, Colorado.
Where he reads the Declaration of Independence.
It's this very dramatic scene. We're getting like the national treasure. It's like, "Dur, dur, dur, dur." And he walks up and he pulls the fucking Declaration of Independence off
He's
the
like,
shelf.
seen it up? Yes.
Honestly,
He's
it
like,
was this big book, and I thought, oh my God, he's right. He's gonna read.
Dianetics. I thought that was what was about to happen.
That's what I thought. I wrote in big letters, not me forgetting this is a Scientology movie. But then he opens up, the font goes, in the Declaration of
in
Independence.
Congress.
Yeah. And then I think there's a time jump because
it's like,
It's
yes,
established
there
he read the
is.
whole library.
it
No,
really
it's
does.
not.
It feels that way. It feels
it's
that
a time
way.
jump, and Turl's like, "Did you find what you were looking for?" And he says, "Yes." I read the whole fucking library.
How long did he leave him there for?
Yeah.
Did he have food, water, rats? Like,
He just threw him in a big library. There's a little bit, it feels like a time jump because they kind of fade in and he's now reading a different book and Turl just enters the scene. All right, let's go. Nothing else.
like, okay.
He didn't discover
do
like
we get
the ways
flight
that-
simulator next? Is that
No, I want to go to the flight simulator.
because Turl is the worst security. He's training this guy
He's training this human.
how to
With so much shit.
how to take over the fucking planet.
He's literally teaching this guy how to speak cyclo, how to fly
Their
a
ships.
warship.
And what the history of his species was, so he's inspired.
Literally, okay. Tangent. There's a direction this movie could have gone where it would have been great. and that is it's like Turl had a redemption arc.
But no, he's just a dumbass.
Like, you know what I mean?
Genuinely dumbass.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like it would have been like if this was like Turl, like John Travolta Turl, like growing like a fondness for humans and like realizing the error of the ways of cyclos, and as he's training this like human, he's like growing an attachment, like a father figure, like attachment to Johnny Goodboy. And then Forrest Whitaker's sort of like, oh, he's stepped afar from the plan. I must now take control.
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys get out, I'll hold him off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could have easily become that, but
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker's that person in the end.
right.
It
Wait,
has
out of-
this action figure says, Chief of Security Turl despises everything human and works to imprison each one he sees. With a bunch of bars of gold.
I
at the
have
bottom.
some knowledge about the toy line that we'll get into at the end of this.
At the very end. Because, there is no redemption arc. He's just like doing all these things for no reason.
To quote one of the best lines in the movie, attention all cyclos! Exterminate all humans on sight! Open fire!
And then they all casually walked
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't run.
They can't run.
because
They do not run.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So I think after this, there's the flight simulator.
This is the
that-
alien flight simulator.
Yes.
Because there's two
There's two flight simulator
are.
scenes in this movie.
simulators.
So it's the alien flight simulator. He's training how to fly one of the cyclo ships.
This is genuinely where I do
And,
not
and it's like a
remember.
buddy cop scene. It's like
That's literally what I
it's
thought.
Johnny and Terrell, and they're in the thing, and Terrell's like, "If you crash the simulator again, I shall kill you."
Well, and then I wanted the scene to end with like, you know, it getting like really intense and like all like the suspenseful music. Is he gonna succeed? Is he gonna succeed? And eventually he does. And then it's like, oh, we did it, yeah! And then he looks over and they like look into each other's eyes longingly, and they realize they're touching hands. Look into my eyes. Literally turns into a gay love story between Turl and Johnny Goodboy.
Still a better movie.
Oh, it would have been a much better movie.
Oh my
Alas,
God.
it
It's
did
not the case.
did not go that way.
No. Because
Oh God.
we still don't really fundamentally know why he's teaching him all these things and how that gets him closer to his goal of more gold and more prowess.
Yeah, he's could have just dropped all these humans off at the mining site and been like, "Dig it up,
Do
or I'll
it.
vaporize you."
do it.
Which he kind of does.
Eventually.
does.
Eventually, he does just do that.
And this whole time, Johnny keeps being like, no, we need to learn their ways, blah, blah, blah. That's great. And then he like kind of does that. And then he goes back and he goes, no, because at some point they're in a cave with the more wild people. What do they talk about? Because that's when I turned to you and I'm like, they're shifting their gears again. Like,
You know what the plot of this movie is at the
oh,
end?
the whole like we need to like steal the gold bars instead of actually mining
Yeah.
it. How do we get there? How do we get there?
So this movie is essentially the plot line from The Life of Brian, where the Romans end up like with Brian writes like fuck the Romans on Pilate's palace, and the Romans are like, well, you spelled it incorrectly, so you have to write it 100 times to prove it. And they just like end up causing a revolution. It's the serious interpretation of that scene from that movie. Where Turl's like, I'm going to teach you how to revolt, and then I'll just drop you off and say, dig up some gold.
Yeah.
I don't know why we have this 30-minute sequence of him teaching him how to be a cyclo.
It's a long one. And at least Johnny's taking advantage of it.
And so they drop all the humans off. And they're like, dig for gold. And they leave him one ship. And that's why Tom out flies. Like, so you can transport it.
Oh.
I remember.
Johnny takes the ship. He flies it to Washington, D.C. He lands at the Library of Congress. Seemingly probably reads the Constitution while he's at it. But he discovers locations of every U.S. military base.
Also, there's still electricity in
Yeah.
all these buildings.
Yeah. Now,
Forget how thousands of years. Like, are there fuels still like there? Like,
And he learns like all the gold is held in Fort Knox. And here's the thing: the Psychos have been here for 1,000 years. They had access to all this information.
Well, can they read?
I would presume they would have figured out how to do it at some point.
Yeah.
And yet, it takes this one guy flying to the library to be like, yeah, there's like a lot of gold at Fort Knox.
And some nuclear weapons.
And some nukes. We can just use that instead of digging this hole. So that
Also,
They shift gears again. There's a shift.
Planet-sized nuke.
yes, they create a fake mining operation basically while they just transport the Fort Knox stuff. Meanwhile, back in Denver, Turl blackmails his boss, and is like. And the guy's like, so if I don't give you this power, you'll kill me. But if I do, I'll just be a puppet. And Charles like, yes, ha 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 ha. And that's that.
That's the last scene we get with that guy.
Yeah, it's the last time we see that guy.
Yeah.
I'm
Because
not
now
upset,
Charles
but-
in charge, apparently. But then Forrest Whitaker tries to
Was
blackmail
he ever
him.
not in charge, though?
No. It's
Yeah.
Is this when Forrest Whitaker tries to blackmail him? And he shoots his hand off? Is that this bit?
Yeah.
Is it?
Forrest Whitaker attempts to blackmail.
This is
No, that was
where-
after the gold bars.
This is when I'm
where it
losing
gets like
it.
a little bit phasey for me
Yeah.
because I'm just like, what the fuck is
Incomprehensible.
happening? Eventually, where things start getting clear again in my memory is like the actual battle scene. Everything up until that point, I'm like, what's happening? There's like a neck collar that's gonna blow a head off at some point.
Yeah, he like somehow gets his love.
Yeah, he gets his like
I don't know where she came
girlfriend or
from.
whatever. He's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Damsel in
the way
distress.
how he found her, it's like, well, I know. How did he say
Did
it?
you say that she stumbled?
No, it's like good thing she's good at drawing, and then he lifts up a drawing of him, or maybe it's the other way around that he found a drawing of his that was a drawing like of her. I don't know. Like if for some
At
reason,
some point, they
very-
find his girlfriend who has one line of dialogue. In this movie.
yeah,
It's, when they're mining for gold and they decide, oh, we're gonna have these gold bars instead. I don't know why they do that instead as a diversion. I don't know.
because he's like when they present the bars of gold to Turl.
And he's like, "Why is it so? Why is it like this?"
Why is it refined?
Yeah.
You should expect nothing less from the almighty Turl.
And I was like, "Seeing as you had enough time to smelt it, I shall cut your timetable in half."
Now
And
you have
Johnny's
7
like,
days.
"Now we only have 7 days to take back the planet."
Yeah, that plan backfired. But
Yeah.
also Turl just so blissfully unaware of what's going on with the humans.
yeah,
God, just
I have
After
no idea
giving
what the
them all
sequence of
the
events at this
tools.
part in the movie
Yeah,
is.
I'm lost.
I know that this is around the part where Kelly Preston has her scene.
Yeah.
Which I think we must talk about.
no.
Well, what happened?
No,
What did
we
they even
don't.
talk about? I was so distracted.
It's where he gets the blackmail material for his boss to take over the colony or whatever.
How did she get it?
I think she slept with the senator, maybe.
Sex? Oh, okay.
But John Travolta, like, he's sitting down with Kelly Preston, who's playing. Her name in this movie is, I must say this, is Chirk. Her name is Chirk.
No.
But Forrest Whitaker walks over and Travolta's just like, "Look at my new beau," and he says this line. He says, "She's stupid enough not to betray me, good looking enough to be a secretary, with economical speed she gets drunk with economical speed and has a great tongue," and she like
Who was he saying this to?
to Forrest Whitaker and I guess the audience and no one in particular.
And she's the only female cyclo we
Yes,
ever
the only
see.
female cyclo. And that's her whole appearance in this movie.
Yeah. Kelly Preston.
I think Forrest Whitaker tries to blackmail him after this.
A second
Correct.
time.
Yes. He's like, "I have a recording of you saying you're going to, this operation. Now it'll be an 80-20 split with me with the 80. And John's like, "Who?" And he's like, points a gun at him. He's like, "If you cannot, I told someone." And Travolta does that thing you're talking about earlier. He's like, "Who could you possibly have told it to?" And he starts riddling off all these names and laughing. There's like, "Oh, could it have been the bartender?" And he pulls the fucking bartender's severed head out of. He had that bartender's head prepped.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Like, it was in the container. Like, he knew this was gonna happen.
But also, like, Curl, he walks into the room. So
Yes.
he planted that head before Forrest Whitaker came in. Waited for Forrest Whitaker to kind of sit down and be like, "Ha ha ha, I'm going to fucking backstab you." And he goes, "All right, I've got the perfect prop for this moment."
that part, and he's like, "I appreciate your attempt to blackmail me. I'm proud you're learning from the best. But it is still an 80-20 split my way. Ha ha ha."
I just want to know what it was like on set. when they're prepping for that scene, right?
Yeah.
And the props guy is like, all right, I have the alien head. He's like, oh, where do we put it in the scenes? Like, we're gonna put it right here because what's gonna happen in the blocking is like Travolta's gonna walk up in mid conversation, and then he's like, are you referring to the bartender? And then like, there's like probably like the scripty or maybe a PA who's like, so did like he already like put it there ahead of the
Yeah.
knowing
He had it prepped.
That had to have been a conversation.
like, come on.
And they just said, don't think about it.
Don't think about it, or the audience will infer.
Okay.
It's
So
stupid.
We infer a lot.
while they're pretending to mine for the gold, they find Fort Knox and they get a bunch of military jets and nukes ready.
Yeah, they have all this military equipment, which when they see the jets, this is my favorite part.
Yeah. Flight simulator.
They see these jets and they're like, well, we don't know how to fly them. And then, and they look over and they walk to this other room. It's like, what is this? And then like the whole like tube thing would say flight simulator comes down, door opens, and they're like, we shall learn. And I'm like, what?
They learn to fly these F-22s or whatever in like
This is
a
like
week.
the pinnacle of lazy writing. They're like, oh, well, we need to have, they
There's
have
gonna be
sticks.
an aerial battle.
Yeah, they have sticks and stones
Yeah.
to fight these aliens with advanced technology. How are they going to know, like, how to, how are they going to quickly evolve and, take their planet back in 7 days? Oh, well, they just have to learn how to fly. How do we do that? Flight simulator.
Well,
Not,
Yeah.
what would have been a more, like, Johnny has the knowledge of how to fly the alien ships. Why didn't they just go steal the ships and Johnny teach everybody else? Why does it have to be a flight simulator with
Because
American
Johnny
technology?
doesn't know how to fly an
because
F-22.
Americans have to kick the aliens' ass. Hoorah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I see your point.
So, because this is Independence Day at the end of the movie.
Yeah, Independence Day, when everyone's following
Except
America's
no Randy
lead.
Quaid coming. He's like, "You ugly sons of bitches, I'm back." But so they plan the revolution, and Johnny, who started the movie
Quickly,
with a
might
stick,
I
who
add.
started the movie with a stick, is like, "Here's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna blow up their home planet at the same time that we blow the ceiling on the Cyclodome, so they all suffocate, and then they can't teleport their new army in."
Which is on standby.
Yes, that is their strategy. So they commence operations.
I don't remember how this starts.
I don't either.
I don't exactly.
They just start blasting.
After a week of training, the rebels launch their attack.
A week?
A week of training.
I thought they had 7 days.
7 days.
Okay. Where? I thought they had to like do this whole thing in the 7-day period of which they're they're mining gold.
They're
Because
pretending to mine gold, but they're secretly training for the operation.
Okay, so when that finishes,
They
Those-
begin operation.
what?
Yeah, I am also just like, what the fuck is happening at this point?
They have the humans, all the slaves still in the Cyclodome,
Yeah.
start just smashing windows as a revolt.
Because they start freeing all the people in the cages, right?
Yeah. They free all the people in the cage and they start smashing windows.
For like the 1 or 2 cyclos in their room that are just like,
and the cycles don't do anything.
they don't.
They're watching all these humans revolt and smash windows and like cause a revolution. They're like, "Rrr."
Yeah.
And they stand there. It's not until John Travolta's like, kill the humans, that they all start slowly sauntering over to the revolt.
I started blasting.
And they all start
Yeah.
and humans start blowing up.
And then this whole fight starts.
Yeah, and then the battlefield Earth begins.
The Battlefield Earth begins. What happens with Travolta and Good Boy?
So Johnny, he's trying to rescue his girlfriend, who's wearing a slave collar. John Travolta can explode at any point.
Across the galaxy, he
Yeah.
says.
Across the galaxy. Meanwhile, Carlo apparently flies a jet into the roof of the Cyclodome and explodes it. He he Randy Quaid's himself.
Yeah, I did say he's the Randy Quaid in this movie.
Well, he doesn't just do that. He like flies the jet into the glass dome.
Yeah.
And then it cracks, but doesn't like shatter.
yeah, it's a very weird.
But then he takes an RPG and then he aims it at explosives next to him. And he's like, 5, 4. I blowed up the dome in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. It's like a weird,
weird pause.
Why did you have to do any of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So he blows up the dome. The thing they had to do was they had to time the dome blowing up with Cyclo blowing up.
Why?
Because if they didn't, because if the dome explodes, the Cyclo army would come. And so after
so communications could still reach.
yeah, so after he blows up the dome, we cut to Cyclo. This army is just standing there.
A lot of people are just
There's like
standing there.
lines of them, hundreds, who just 5 seconds ago got the alert that Earth was under attack, and they're just prepped. It's all these guys just standing there. Like it's the implications that this army has they always just have troops standing on the teleportation pad at all times, ready to go.
Where's Johnny in all of this?
That's my
Well,
problem. I don't know what happens.
He's trying to get he's trying to get the nuke to the teleportation pad, I think,
Yeah.
and I think he succeeds at getting it there. But Turl shows up.
Yeah.
And is like, "You're ruining my plan!" Ha ha ha! And so Johnny, in some way, gets the suicide collar off of his girlfriend and puts it on Turl's arm without him noticing? Question mark.
Yeah, they start fighting.
And then he can
Mano-y-mano.
He's like, "Turl, you can't blow my girlfriend. I love her." And he's like, "Oh, watch me!" And he detonates it and blows his own arm off. He's like, "Ah, no!"
He doesn't even do that. He's just like, oh.
Yeah, the psychos seemingly feel no pain. Because he looks and he's like, "Oh, that's unfortunate."
Yeah, even Forrest Whitaker just walked off frame when
Earlier
his
when
hand was
Forrest
blown
Whitaker
off.
had his hand blown off for trying to betray Turl, he's like, "Ugh."
Yeah, they
He's
must not feel
So
any pain.
Turl's arm is blown off.
There's no blood, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And they
Klingons have like blue, green blood or something like
they
that.
teleport the nuke to Cyclo.
Which, have we discussed that this is a planet-sized nuke?
Yes, seemingly.
Like, we have a planet-destroying nuke at this point? The year 2000?
I think what
We
happened.
didn't even have the internet, really.
I think
at that
I
time.
think what happens is it looks like Cyclo is oh, I know what it is. I know what it is.
Are you about to rationalize how this happens,
I
Jeff?
know exactly how this works.
No.
It's established earlier in the movie that Cyclo air exposed to radiation combusts. So when they detonate the nuke on Cyclo, the entire planet lights on fire and explodes.
Right. And who do they just teleport it, or
They
does someone
kind
go
of
with
commit
it?
genocide. The humans kind of commit genocide.
I mean,
They could have just attempted to get the aliens off their own planet, but they're like, no.
We're going to wipe out their home.
eye for an eye. The Cyclos, basically, genocided humans first. It's only right. And they have colonies.
But not even like 30 minutes earlier in the caves of the gold mines that they're faking mining. He said that we had to make peace. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that something
Yes.
he said?
He does. He says we cannot become them. But then he just kills them all anyway.
Then he just kills them.
And
yeah.
there's a very funny effect during the blowing up of the planet because it has like a little moon. You see the planet explode and you see the moon just go. They yeeted the fucking moon out of orbit. It looks so funny because someone had to animate this moon just go.
There are some heinous composite work in this movie.
Like imagine being the your moon base alpha or whatever. You just get fucking yeet by your planet explode.
You just see your planet exploding.
You're just like, whoa!
Oh, shit.
all of the like composite explosions on top of the miniatures move with the camera. Like an explosion happens here and we're zooming past it. We should pass it, but it just sticks to the frame.
Yeah.
In some points.
We pretty much just skipped over the whole battle because I can't remember anything that happens.
They're
Me
just
neither.
some of them are flying.
Yeah.
Some of them are
flying,
just
some of them are on the ground.
There are when they blow up the dome. Oh no, there's like some sort of ship that runs into like a big pillar and all of the rubble starts falling on the people, and then we leave that
Yes.
scene. And it is not explained if people survived because Johnny was on the ground, and then that's when Curl shows up and they start going mano-y-mano, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just cut from them blowing up Cyclo to Fort Knox, as one does.
Yeah, there's a time jump like, oh, all right, success, right?
Yeah, and we just see Turl, and Johnny walks in, and we have Turl chained up in the center of Fort Knox, surrounded by gold bars, surrounded by his failure. Symbolism.
I don't hate it.
In awful composite work.
Yeah.
It's like a good visual idea, one of the few in this movie. But like all this gold is CGI. Like they could just made fake gold. But and Turtle's like, "Why you keep me alive?" And Johnny's like, "As a bargaining chip in case this other cycle colonies come for us." Like they were gonna fire Turtle anyway. I don't think they're gonna care about using him as a bargaining chip.
I think that was his thing, which is like, because he says like, if I tell the other if the other cycle colonies come looking for us, and I tell them you're the reason that the whole planet got blown up, then they'll be after you and not us.
Yeah.
So it's like a weird like
It's very
reverse bargaining chip thing. It doesn't really make any sense to me.
It does not.
But then they make Forrest Whitaker head cyclo.
Yeah.
Which is a new office position at Earth now. Head
You know what?
cyclo.
Great.
Forrest Whitaker comes up behind and Travolta's like, "You missed out! My compatriot is here to free me!"
I thought for sure, I'm like, nobody saw this dude walk in. And then it was the plot twist is that he's now working
He's
with
like,
the humans.
I'm with the humans now.
Inexplicably.
Lies, deceptions.
Inexplicably, he's gone the entire battle sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
He's
not
not
here
there.
for 20 minutes. And he's like, "I will help the humans rebuild."
Yeah.
And then we zoom in and Troll's like, "No, no." He's surrounded by the gold.
I'd like to think he was just sitting by mourning the death of the bartender. His good friend, compatriot. And that's the end of the movie.
That's the end of the movie.
So, yeah, we cut to directed by Peter Christian. Or Roger Christian.
The point A to point B in this movie looks like a squiggly line. There's just 100 twists and turns for no reason.
Yes.
Like, how did we get to humans like to eat rats to you're going to mine a gold for us?
To like knowledge blast.
This movie
Yeah.
makes no sense.
No.
I just described the plot and I still don't entirely know what happened.
I was like on board a little bit, like at least like I knew what I was saying for the first half.
Yeah.
And then as I tried to explain more and more the plot, I'm like, wait, did that really happen?
Yeah.
No. Wait a minute.
I think
did
the
that
majority
happen?
of
What's
this
about the
podcast-
Declaration of Independence?
I think we spent the majority of this podcast just trying to piece together the plot from memory, which is, I don't even know why we attempted to do as such.
Yeah. Bad idea.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
we did
this
it.
would have been better as a commentary as the movie is playing because there's just no.
There's no thread.
That's a Patreon thing we got to do.
Patreon.
Or like a
commentaries.
bonus episode. Just do a commentary of
The worst
Mystery
of the
Science
worst.
Theater
Battlefield
style.
Earth, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we gotta watch this movie again.
No.
Yeah, no.
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 That idea is
Hard pass. Hard
Okay.
pass.
Because there
So-
are movies that I would say subjectively are bad. You know, like somebody's going to find something to like. Objectively, this movie is just
It's the
wrong.
worst.
Like every decision was wrong, cinematography wise, performance wise, story wise, character wise. Everything was just wrong. Objectively. This is the most objectively bad movie I've ever seen in my life. And I never want to sit through it again.
So, this movie comes out. Let me find the date. May 10th of the year 2000. It's got the Star Wars spot, like opening May, like they did at the time. The year after the Phantom Menace had come out.
They're trying.
They're really trying to like state their case. Major bomb.
Yeah.
Opening weekend, $11 million, which is catastrophic. Travolta takes a very strange marketing ploy for this movie. Rather than do the traditional press junket, he does signings of the book, Battlefield Earth.
He didn't write the book.
But with himself signing them.
He didn't write the book. Wow.
This movie comes out, makes $11 million in its opening weekend, an average of $1,000 per screen. Catastrophic. It makes
Christ.
54% of its entire domestic gross in its first 3 days.
54?
The following week, it faces earnings of just $205,000. Warner Brothers slashes the screens that it's on to 600. It made $18,000 in its sixth week, which I believe is its final week. Total of $21 million in release. $8 million internationally for a total of $29 million on a $73 million production budget.
Ooh.
Damn.
So it loses $50 million.
Big hit.
Regards one of the most expensive box office bombs in film history.
No way.
It has a 3% Rotten Tomatoes score.
It didn't even look expensive.
3%. Who's the positive?
There's probably what's his name?
John Travolta.
Probably John Travolta in a mustache.
And this is like post Matrix, where something along this line was very much sought after.
Yes.
Very sought after. So much so, I think I said to you, the Battlefield Earth portion of Battlefield Earth, you could probably comfortably interject Matrix Revolutions into that. Right? Because you've got the somewhat tribal cave people from like the actual universe, not the Matrix, fighting alien ships with lack of direction in all of this action sequence. I bet you could interject Matrix Revolutions into Battlefield Earth.
And it would be a better movie for it.
Battlefield Earth or Matrix Revolutions?
Battlefield Earth.
Okay.
If you show me some Matrix in there, it would be better.
I really don't like Matrix Revolutions so much so that I think it would be a 4-hour epic if we interjected
4-hour
it
epic.
to Battlefield Earth. Someone needs to do that.
I
It's a very similar plot.
I'm still going to stand by Turl Johnny Goodboy love story.
That would have been the correct choice.
Wow.
And you make it like, and here's the thing, for it being the year 2000, you make it very, very, very on the nose about gay rights. Like, it's like a cyclo and a human? That's disgusting.
So
A man animal with the cyclos.
So the thing about this movie is that it kills Barry Pepper's career before it starts.
Oh.
It sends John Travolta in a rapid decline. This is his Icarus moment, as we talked about.
Yeah.
Toward his.
Does this shift you've got all these Travolta eras. Is this the end of one?
No.
Or the beginning of
No,
one?
this is the beginning of the end of the A-list era. Because
Beginning of the end?
Yes.
Okay.
After this, he's on a downward slope that eventually.
But I'm saying, is the next movie the next era?
no.
What?
No.
This isn't an
because
era
we've
shifting
talked
movie?
about
He's
this
still
before.
He's still riding the inertia of being an A-list star after this movie, but this is what starts his decline to like irrelevancy.
Okay, so there wasn't that a start of an era?
It starts the decline, but he's still in the era. Like, he's still an A-list star when he does Swordfish after this, but this dinged him enough that he's on the slope.
I
Okay.
think it's a very valid question. I think it's worthy to explain what is our border.
Yes.
What is the movie that
The movie that
transitions?
changes is his last A-list role, by our definition, is Bolt. After Bolt is when he settles into direct-to-video action movies.
What's the first movie in the next era?
It's The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Old Dogs from Paris with Love as the lineup.
Those three start the new era.
That's when he settles into like direct-to-video action, like cheapo comedies. Like for movies like this, Be Cool, Wild Hogs, he's still like getting top billing. There's still like major studio releases. It's not until like Bolt's pretty much the last gasp where it's like he's starring in a Disney movie, and then after that, it's just nothingness.
That's okay. Okay, I see what you're saying. Mostly about like some of these movies still,
Just
for the
about
most part,
Hairspray.
exist.
Yeah.
It's
But you're saying like the whole 2000 to basically 2010 is still an A-list era for him.
he's still A-list at this point.
Okay.
He's still A-list. Like, he's getting lead roles in movies that make, a point, that, like, make an impact. Even if they're not necessarily good movies.
Okay.
I would say Hairspray is still, like, an A-list moment for him.
I would say more so than any of these other movies
Yeah.
and Bold and all that jazz.
But
Okay.
I'm going to talk about, so how disastrous of a flop this was. This ends 2 entire companies.
Whoa.
So Franchise Pictures, which produced this film, is sued by its investors for fraudulently overstating this film's budget and then not making any of it back. So
Can you do that?
Franchise Pictures goes under the wire as a result of this movie's complete failure. This movie also ends Trendmasters Entertainment, which produced the toy line for this movie, and suffered just catastrophic losses on the toy line that they could not financially recover and shut down. Because they produced all these Turl and Carlo action figures and then could not sell them.
Oh no.
So this movie ends 2 entire companies, 2 careers.
Well, who is this movie for?
Exactly.
I was gonna say,
John Travolta wants this to
Battlefield
be
Earth is rated
PG-13.
PG-13.
For intense sci-fi action. This movie is supposed to be the next Star Wars. Instead, Star Wars is the next Star Wars.
Yeah.
The Matrix is the next Star Wars around this time.
Yeah, this is Battlefield Earth, regardless of what year it was released, would have been a bombshell and just obviously bad. Yeah. But to piggyback off of the Matrix, to piggyback off of the first prequel movie, and then going into Lord of the Rings.
It goes into Lord of the Rings the year after this.
It's
catastrophic time to release this.
Amazingly, astonishingly bad competition.
Travolta, even though this movie makes no money and it kills 2 companies, Travolta still goes on about making a sequel for 5 years.
Oof.
He's trying to get funding for Battlefield Earth 2, which will tell the second half of the book. Pretty much everyone else involved is like, no, I'm not doing the sequel.
How do you pitch a sequel to the biggest box office bomb in history?
Travolta says, and I quote, here's another quote he had about this movie. He called it the Schindler's List of sci-fi action films.
No, he didn't. No, I refuse to believe this. My God.
He thinks this is going to be huge. There's a very long... he gives a very sweaty, long explanation about how this movie actually made money.
Oh.
He's
like, I made $10 million.
Wow. He pretty much says, this movie actually was a success because with DVDs and Blu-rays and whatnot, we secretly actually made our money back, and we're going to make a sequel.
Why is he so defensive about this?
Because this was his passion project.
But own it. Don't it's one thing to try to paint it as something completely different, but just own it for what it is.
He says ultimately this movie did $100 million when you count box office, DVD, video, and pay-per-view, which is not the case. In 2001, he attempted to get a 13-hour animated series and manga made for this. Did not succeed. Oh my God! I just had a bunch of pop-ups on my computer. The sequel was going to be released in 2003 so as to not compete with Attack of the Clones in 2002. Oh my God.
No, instead it was going to compete with Return of the King.
Yes. Which would have been the Return of the King.
Yeah.
I would recommend anyone who's interested go into the Wikipedia and read fraud by Franchise Pictures and canceled follow-ups and sequel sections for this movie.
Chef, can I read you this?
Yes.
As Travolta did not attend to collect his trophies at the Razzies, an action figure of Turl, his character, accepted them in his place.
Amazing.
Travolta responded a week later, I didn't even know there were such awards. I have people around me whose job it is to not tell me such things. They're obviously doing their job. Not every film can be a critical or box office success. It would have been awful only if Battlefield Earth was neither. That's not the case. It's edging towards its $1 million mark, which means that it's found an audience, even if it didn't impress the critics. I'd rather my films connect with audience than critics because it gives it more longevity as a performer.
This is the most insane movie to ever exist.
I have never seen denial in a more obvious fashion.
You know Charles's character from Lucky Numbers, the movie that we're covering next? This is him in the press tour for this. It's just him in Lucky Numbers, really sweatily explaining why it's still a success.
Battlefield Earth tied for the highest number of Razzies won by a single film at the time, with Showgirls 1995 achieving 7 wins in 96. Battlefield Earth was later awarded with the 8th Razzie for Worst Drama of our first 25 years. In 2010, the film received an award for Worst Picture of the Decade, bringing its total number of Razzie Awards to 9, consequently setting a record for the most Razzies won by a single film. That record was surpassed in 2012 when Jack and Jill won 10 awards.
Dunkachino. What's my name? Dunkachino.
So.
I want to talk about Travolta.
We gotta talk about Travolta.
Well, I'm a little worried about it.
You're a little worried.
Just Pulp Fiction gave him a second chance.
Yes.
And we had some good times because
Yes.
I'm starting to get, the thing that really sucks about this, it's like, with the Blowout in 1980 and how it gave us like the 80s of pure nothingness.
Yes.
There
was a resurrection.
There was a
that you could look forward
resurrection
to.
that we could look forward to.
There was a New Testament.
And again, he could still get another resurrection in 2021 or 2022 or 2023.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? The resurrection could still be coming. But like his Icarus moment, like in the 80s, it was like taking a chance for the good reason.
Yeah.
Of like listening to this like director Brian De Palma and like going deep into the story, and like Blowout was a good movie and it was a good chance to take, but it was just pure luck of the draw that audiences weren't going to like it. And so the consequences of his actions for his drawback in the 80s, like I felt really sad for.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy is a good actor and like he deserves better roles and he should be given these chances. And then he finally got his chance to prove it with Pulp Fiction in 93, right? 94. And then he gets back into better films like Get Shorty, and we get Phenomenon, we get Michael even, and we get all these like really like decently performed pieces of him. And it's like, there we go. We finally see our man Travolta doing it once more. What are you doing, Jeff? You're ruining the moment here.
Keep going.
I'm trying to build a moment here.
I'm listening to your moment.
Okay.
Keep going.
So, but now, with this precipice we are entering upon, this is all his fault. And it's gonna be
He dug his own grave.
And the thing is, it's like I was pulling for this guy.
Yeah.
We started this podcast in 1975, and I've been pulling for him ever since.
Yeah. For 25 years
For 20
in Canada.
5 years, I have been pulling for this guy. I mean, like, come on, Johnny. Come on, you can do it. Like, you got the chops.
I wonder if this wasn't a Scientology-based science fiction novel, if he would have been as passionate about it.
Absolutely not.
No?
I have no doubt. If it wasn't for the L. Ron Hubbard, all this would not have happened.
Wow.
And so, like, that just makes me think it's like I want to try to, like, pin it on something else other than Travolta, because then if it is going to be Travolta, then all these movies that we're about to have to endure pretty soon
Are his fault.
And arguably, this is kind of the movie that started kind of the backbone of this podcast. That this really skyrocketed him into some sort of hilarious social figure and actor, celebrity.
It's impossible for Hollywood to take him seriously after this movie.
Right.
Which is why all of his like attempts at dramatic work after this start like flopping again and again, because he's just the Battlefield Earth guy after this.
Yeah. And he shot for the stars
It's
and
hard.
landed on planet Cyclo.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
And it's hard to like take him seriously as like a badass figure in Swordfish or whatever, a movie we'll be talking about. When he's just Turl. He's the Battlefield Earth guy. Remember when he wore the dreadlocks?
Yeah.
And it's
a
just
shame.
like, I don't know, like, what can bring him back from this movie?
It's like Tom Cruise when he did the it killed his career for 5 years basically when he did the jumping on the Oprah couch thing.
Yeah.
Like he became the Oprah couch guy. Ooh, want to go see him in Valkyrie, the Nazi honey movie? Oh, the funny Oprah couch guy.
Yeah.
That's what happens to John Travolta. He's the dreadlocks guy after this.
But Tom Cruise had an innocent moment about Katie Holmes, thank you. Katie Holmes. Cute moment that obviously people took in stride. This is a imagined, created, and released piece
by John Travolta.
A fiercely defended bad decision.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's nothing worse than like when you're staring at a pile of shit on the conference room table in the face.
Wow, way to bring it back.
And everyone's like looking at it and it still smells and it's still oily. And you're just like,
executives leave the room and just leave the business.
It's pure, and you're calling that pile of shit on the table pure gold. And to this day, you're calling it pure gold. It's like it's really hard to take you seriously.
He's
after
still
that.
very proud of this movie.
He is still proud of
And
this.
part of me
movie.
is like happy that he was happy with it,
Yes.
but I think it's based in a delusion.
Rather than anything else.
It's kind of like watching somebody go through an addiction, and you're just like, I can't. They look happy on the
Oh
outside.
God, that's an interesting allegory or like metaphor to it.
You're trying to take them out of it, but you also want them to be happy, but they're not doing it in a healthy way.
Well, and like we can put the blame on like Scientology and that fanaticism to it.
Yeah.
I agree.
And to go back to the addiction thing, it's like, like I don't judge people for being religious, and it's like if it makes you a better person, if you feel happier with it, that's great. And Scientology, for all of its flaws and interesting philosophies, if you are a Scientologist and you think it really helps your life and puts you in a better place, more power to you.
In that regard, the God's Not Dead franchise is identical to Battlefield Earth. In the sense that it is fueled and
Yes.
supported largely by
Yes.
its own audience and nobody
Yes.
else.
Right.
And a religious background.
Yes. Like Christians, very
They
like
defend it.
they defend God's Not Dead.
Yeah.
For as horrible of a movie as that is, people defend it very much, and it's like, and it's hard to like sort of like try to debate with them on that, because it's like I get why you like it.
Yeah.
Like I get why you probably think it's a great movie, and for like like John Travolta, like he looks at Battlefield Earth and he's like he's in love with it. He thinks it's like the best work of his creation. He thinks it's better than his role in Pulp Fiction, maybe. See, I would love to ask him this. It's like he may love this movie, but does he think he's good in this movie? Does he think he gave his best performance in this? Like, does he think that his performance in Battlefield Earth is better than his performance in Pulp Fiction? Because I would love to know the answer to that. I would love for him to say, like, well, no, I think like the writing and the direction and my choices as Vince Vega, were a little bit more nuanced in ways that I really weren't able to explore in Battlefield Earth. But I do like the movie Battlefield Earth more. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would love to know. I just love to know. Because
What is John Travolta's own ranking of his own movies?
Yes.
I want his ranking.
Yes.
I want his hair ranking.
Well, I'd be interested to hear about that too. But yes, like, and in different categories of ranking. Because
Have you guys ever seen an interview where he says his favorite movie that he's ever done? Because I'm sure that's a
gonna look it
question
up.
that actors always get.
do you think they do like a GQ breakdown, John Travolta most iconic roles thing? You know how they do that?
I would guess he hasn't done one yet, because I don't think he's done any movies
Yeah.
recently that could fit into that.
It's the GQ like breaks down most iconic characters. I wonder, do they do one with John Travolta yet?
I do not believe they
There's a
have.
George Clooney.
Because I feel
one.
like Vincent Vega would be the top regardless. I want to know John Travolta's opinion.
I would
I found
love.
a Yahoo video called John Travolta calls some of his favorite roles that we'll have to check out.
Okay.
But we're just stringing the audience along for me just describing this video I found right now.
Yeah. We'll look at it later.
There is a Travolta looks back at his most iconic movies interview, but it's not like it's not like the GQ one.
Yeah.
It's just like a regular interview. I might cue that up for later. But yes, I would love to see a John Travolta rank his own movies in the following categories. Like one list where he's ranking his performance, and one where he's ranking just the quality of the movie,
Yeah.
just overall. Like he might think that Battlefield
Because
Earth
those
is-
will be vastly different.
yeah. He might think that Battlefield Earth is the best movie, but he might think his Pulp Fiction role is his best performance.
Yeah.
Would love to know that.
But I
Yes.
feel like his favorite movie of his role of like that he's done has to be like one of the goofiest ones. From my
Right.
impression of him,
'Cause
and
what-
I'm afraid that answer is Battlefield Earth.
right. If he says Battlefield Earth is his best performance, I can't. I
Maybe not best performance, but favorite movie could be.
Well, again, like if he says this is his favorite movie, then that I kind of put onto like it's a Scientology thing. It's a passion project, the L. Ron Hubbard mentor storyline. Like he's got a whole bunch of baggage on it. But if he's at least got the merit of an actor to know that it's a bad performance and like, because it's a bad performance, guys. John Travolta's bad in that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Like, you know, moment by moment, you could say he was 20, like he's young. He's playing like a young boy and he's doing a little too hard. You know, like the Gina, you know,
Yeah.
the boy in the plastic bubble. Like, those are some pretty bad performances. But, like, all the other
There's
bad...
a hunger there.
Yeah, but all the other bad movies, like, he's never really the problem. He's doing
Yeah.
pretty well. He, in just acting alone, he's bad in this movie. Like, he's not doing a good job.
No.
Then that would, like, really spook me if he was like, no. Not only do I think this is my favorite movie, I think this is my best performance. Then we have a problem. We have a
So
problem.
in this video of him reflecting on his career, it does jump from Primary Colors to The Fanatic at the end.
Okay. I mean,
This will be
we'll
like
look
a
at it.
20-year gap at the end of this video. Which is very funny.
Well, he's probably talking in general. I don't think actors. If I were an actor, I don't think I would love to say, like, what my favorite movie that I've ever done is, because it seems to degrade the others. Like, ask Roger Deakins, what's your favorite movie you've ever shot?
Yeah, but like, they all have their own qualities.
Yeah, any person who's like an artist is just like, well,
They're all different.
yeah.
Yeah, not
They're all
one's
different.
better than the other.
Exactly.
Right. Although I hate that answer, but it is true.
It is.
It is
yeah,
true. I do, because it is very much a cop-out answer.
It
It's
is.
like, well, you know, one's not better than the other. They're all different. It's like,
Because clearly he would say No Country for Old Men. That's just hands down. Anyway.
One last thing before we start wrapping this up.
yeah.
We were just talking about the God's Not Dead franchise.
Oh, no.
And I just have some real beef to throw out right now.
Okay.
It is so infuriating that the titling sequence for those is God's Not Dead, God's Not Dead 2, God's Not Dead, A Light in the Darkness, and God's Not Dead, We the People. It should have been God's Not Dead, God's Still Not Dead, God's Really Still Not Dead. Like, because the poster is a person putting the not between God and dead. It should be like every poster should be an extra person adding another word to the sequence until it just gets really overwhelming.
Is this really how we're ending this?
I think it
this
should be
episode?
a really overwhelming thing with like 20 people all trying to add new
Well,
words.
it's kind
to
of like
this.
the fatal flaw in the Now You See Me franchise.
Yeah,
that
the
they
thing-
said Now You See Me 2. It's like, no, it's like it should have been like Now You See Me, and then the sequel is Now You Don't.
Yeah.
That's
It's
Well, okay, just to bring it full circle, so this isn't just a weird ending to this.
Yeah.
What would Battlefield Earth's sequel be called?
Battlefield Earths.
No,
no.
no.
We're doing the aliens format.
Because
Well,
oh wait,
if
we
it-
didn't even mention the fact that there's a subtitle.
Oh yeah, a saga
there
of the year 3000.
Oh my god.
At least it shares the title Battlefield Earth with the green font underneath, and what was it say?
A saga of the year 3000.
If this is going to be at the
Wow.
same merit of how, like, if we're going to give the same merit to the title as the merit of the original movie is, then it might as well be called, like, Battlefield Earth, Turtle's Return.
Turtle's
or,
Return.
Or Battlefield Earth, The Cyclo Strikes Back. You know?
The Cyclos strike back.
Turtle has to be there. Well, I wonder what
yeah.
the second half of the book is.
Well, so I just read that
That's Dianetics.
this movie only covers the first 460 pages of the 1,000-page book.
Jesus Christ.
1,000.
So there's still 500 pages to go.
Oh my god.
And God forbid we ever see that movie.
I want to know what it's about. How does it end?
I don't know.
Does it end in more nonsense about gold?
I would
and
assume it ends
rats?
with the Cyclos coming to invade Earth and the actual Battlefield Earth occurring.
Yeah, because in the end of this movie, they're just like, "We've taken Earth back," and I'm like, "No, you've taken Denver." What? How is Sweden doing?
Yeah.
Where's Russia at? You know,
Where's the Republic of Congo going? How are they doing?
Peru? How are they doing?
What if it was only Denver? Like the rest of humanity is functioning perfectly fine, but just Colorado has been like assimilated by the Cyclos.
Oh man.
Like
Well,
they fly to like the UK and it's like a thriving society.
at the end of this, you guys need to have an amended episode of being like, we described the last 500 pages of Battlefield Earth. That could be the sequel.
Our bonus episode.
Never will happen.
Oh, or our bonus episodes when we read
A dramatic reading.
the dramatic reading of Battlefield Earth with sound effects.
Jeff, I swear to God, if this shows up on my coffee table, I'm going to break up with you.
What is he showing? What's he looking at?
He's looking at copies of the book.
Oh God!
But-
Shut the fucking laptop.
Yeah, this is the end of this episode.
Okay.
This is it.
Thank you all for listening
Oh,
very much.
he's
You
just
can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.
And you can contribute on our Reddit forum, r/Travolting. You can find us on Instagram at Travolting Pod.
And Twitter.
And Twitter. You can find me on Instagram at StuartElmore95.
You can find me on Twitter at Jeff W. Sweeney. You can also email us, travoltingpodcast@gmail.com, because seeing as Stuart is trying to rapidly get us out of here before I order the book.
Becca,
Yeah.
would you? Well, you are also a graphic designer. We appreciate you very much, but we'd like to plug anything.
No. I mean, my Instagram is Becca Lynn Artist. You can see some of my photography, cinematography work there. And yeah. Oh, we never did mention that this DP shot Hell or High Water.
Right.
Yeah, the acclaimed 2016
Yeah.
Dave Mackenzie film. Hell or
On
High
that
Water.
note, this DP had better work. At least he didn't end his career on this.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having me on. I think this is my last episode on this podcast.
Oh no, it's definitely not.
It's not the last?
No, there's at least one more where we're having a lot of guests.
Oh, no.
Becca, oh God, yeah.
You'll be
I'll
back.
see you in another 20 years in his lexicon.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a lot of our old friends back for that episode.
Shit.
Do we have to re-close out since we kind of went on another bit? Or
What? No, I think a closing is good. The Michael Van Bodingen Smith theme music is playing right now. Can't you hear it?
it's a very short theme music, so it's gonna have to like start and stop and start
Well,
and
it's
stop.
playing right now. Can't you hear it? It just started.
Okay, it just started.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening.